Hear ye, they are not like us. Hear ye, they all be making a fuss. The crash daddies told us that the car did not hit, and Trooper Paul couldn't make any of the physics fit. Free Karen Reed, hashtags be flooding at our feet. Justice for Officer John O'Keefe. Free Karen Reed, hashtags be flooding out our feet. 'Cause we all know that Lexus don't have no teeth. It's obvious that Colin A was in that basement, but the MSP never even took his statement. 34 Fairview, the lawn is so small, but 11 people even saw nothing at all. Free Karen Reed, hashtags be flooding at our feet. Justice for Officer John O'Keefe. Free Karen Reed, hashtags be flooding out our feet. 'Cause we all know that Lexus don't have no teeth. Adam Lally, he drones on and on and on. Can never hold a candle to Alan Jackson. The pirouettes, bang bang, I'll fuck you up. The lending of the Raiders and the red Solo cups. Free Karen Reed, hashtags be flooding out our feet. Justice for Officer John O'Keefe. Free Karen Reed, hashtags be flooding out our feet. 'Cause we all know that Lexus don't got no teeth. Juliana Nagel said she saw a black blob. Along came Canton Lucky, he was just doing his job. He took the stand and he stood his ground. So tell us why that Ford Edge has never been found. 220 Tesla, she made that search. Hose along to die in cold, turtles even got merch. Was it raining then, or was it actually snowing? And what the fuck was Brian Higgins' white Jeep plowing? He's got no game, he made us all cringe. JJ Jen McCabe, well she is clearly unhinged. Free Karen Reed, hashtags be flooding out our feet. Justice for Officer John O'Keefe. McConkey, the apron, kill me now. High top tables, basketball, and a Frankenstein plow. 1210, crystal light, and the nether cracker. Get off my fucking lawn, Life 360 app tracker. Free Karen Reed, hashtags be flooding out our feet. Justice for Officer John O'Keefe. Free Karen Reed, hashtags be flooding out our feet. 'Cause we all know that Lexus ain't got no teeth. Free Karen Reed.
Miss Shorty, you're muted. Miss Shorty, you're muted.
Fantastic. Hi. Thanks. Muted. Hi. Welcome. Hi, shorties. Thanks. What the fuck motion to scream granted. Appreciate you very much. Are we okay? Trial. Are we okay? Yikes. Uno momento. One for you. One for you. Okay. Hi. How are you? Are we okay? I feel like we're okay. What do you think, chat? Hi again. Who's here? I kind of don't know what to say. Miss Shorty, you're muted. Simi, hi. I'm out of my glasses on, can't see a thing. Hi, Micah. Hi, Akasha. Have you voted in the poll? Have you? Have you? Smarter Hari's here. Let me put my glasses on. Vanity's a curse, right? Oh, phew, I can see. Ay, ay, ay. Simi, hi. Yes, I already said hi. Butterflies here, hi. Hi, Steph. Coming in with a zing. Thank you so much. I love you very much. So many things to scroll through, but let me. Miss Shorty. We're here for a debrief. Missy Mayhem, hi. Simi says we got a guilty for Hori Slaybell. So that's a win. Win-win. Absolutely. Absolutely. Thanks, Butterfly. I was having a little chuckle to myself just as I did my final, and I was like, wow, the magic of makeup, because did not look like this about an hour ago. Did not. What are we doing? Let's get straight into it. What have you voted so far? Let me check. Jackson's got hanging at 82%. I don't know how to look at the whole poll. Can anyone else see the whole poll? Oh, there I go. Unetti, 16. Jackson, 84%. Oh, Lally, 0%. Brennan's was the tits, 0%. I'll leave the poll up for a little while longer. We might do another one. Holly says I need therapy after today. Mike says crazy day. Right. So here's how my day started. I didn't set an alarm. I went to bed at 8:30 p.m. my time. No alarm. I was like, it's fine. Whatever time I wake up, I wake up. I woke up at 11:15, and just naturally p.m., just as they were having that sidebar in the motions before the jury came into the room. Thank goodness. And then I jumped over to Justice Serve TV, which was lovely to spend time in there with my friends. Akasha says, I usually look like a homeless person if I do not have to leave my house. Oh, also, sometimes when I leave my house. Absolutely. Same. Now, and then I fell back asleep, had a nightmare. This is pertinent because I fell back asleep because tired. And it was like 3:00 in the morning. Had a nightmare where I was just trying to get myself to my end point. Like so many dramas. And then that turned into me being in the snow. And then I started, and it was a whole thing. And then the snow, and then I started crying. And then Linda Kenny Barden's voice brought me up out of my nightmare. And I was like, oh, thank God, it was a dream. But I think it was very symbolic of poor Karen Reid's plight. And it was awful. So Akasha says, I'm pretty sure I don't smell like one. Also, unless I have been working in the yard. Don't lose your phone, Akasha. Smarter Hari says both Jackson and Yanetti's were fired. Jackson had the benefit of additional disclosures and time and hindsight, right? Holly says, why am I not green? What the fuck? Let's fucking go. Well, let's fucking go in general. We can let's fucking go no matter what your color is. White, green, blue. And if you're on an Android, don't you guys all have different colors? Wild. So we're going to go through and do some recapping. We're not going to watch Hank's opening because bleh, lies and yuck. No one needs any more nightmares. I don't. Thank you to Motion to Scream. What the fuck granted. Research extraordinaire. Clip gatherer extraordinaire. Executive producer extraordinaire. Backstage helper. Whoa. You're like a quadruple threat. And timestamper. Boom. Love your work. Thank you so much for pulling these timestamps for me. Is it this one? Yes. Yes. Can do it. Thank you for being here. Please remember to hit the like. Oh, one more thing. Replay crew, hi. Thank you for joining. Why is my layout like that? Pause. Pause for housekeeping. That's better. Replay crew, if you would like to watch the live chat replay on your handheld device, easy peasy. All you need to do is swipe left on the comment tab. That looks so weird. And you'll get the option to do live chat replay and said, hi, Princey. Good to see you. I'll play around with that layout here. We'll do a little moment with Bev because it's very ceremonial. breathing and stuff. Oh, what speed have I got it on? Could be 2.0. Who knows? Oh, no, normal. But I'll bump it up a little. Don't forget to hit the like, please and thank you. Please.
This court is in session. Please be seated. 2282 CR 117, the Commonwealth versus Karen Reed.
So Bev seems to have maybe had her hair foiled over the weekend, and she's done some DIY. She's put some cute, classy, very expensive looking curtains up there. I love that. Wow, Commonwealth, what are you doing with yourselves?
So, good morning. I see all counsel are present. I see all counsel are present. Nobody said anything to Mr. Clerk about needing to see me, but I received 4 motions over this weekend that I assume we need to at least talk about briefly. Commonwealth's motion regarding defense opening statement. I think the first 2 motions we can do quickly. I'm not issuing an order. Mr. Brennan, the defense knows third-party culprit will not be in the opening. If you think that their opening goes beyond it, you can object. Defendant's opposition to the Commonwealth's request for use of independent readers, because there's an objection, the defendant's motion's allowed. So you will not have an independent reader. Is it fair to say that the 3rd and 4th motions, Commonwealth motion to enforce compliance with court's April 16th ARCA discovery order and the Commonwealth's motion to preclude new
I'm sure you all know, spoiler alert, yikes about ARCA. We'll see. We'll see. I still think Bev's going to allow them to testify. Hi, Brick, by the way. Rafferty has announced her retirement. That's interesting timing, isn't it? I believe Bev will end up allowing ARCA, Dr. Wolf and Dr. Rentschler, is that right? To testify, but she'll place limitations. They'll not be able to. In my opinion, Bev will rule that they can't testify to anything beyond what they testified in the first trial. That's what I think. Brooklyn says, I don't think so. I hope I'm wrong. No, I hope I'm right. I hope I'm right. God. Yeah, Bev definitely had a regrowth done. She had some nice highlights fixing up that straw. They need a voir dire to clear up Brennan's bullshit accusations. There's a new members only emote in the chat. I swapped out something pointless for lies. It's white with 2 red X's and the red word lies in red. My voice is cracking like Timothy Nuttall's, but I'm not lying. There is a new members only emote.
Or alternatively to continue the trial date, that those motions will take a little bit of time, Mr. Brennan?
I don't think I'll be long in my argument.
I think that I need more information on one of them. And I think we'll do that at the end of the trial.
Okay, that's enough hearing Brennan. We've got weeks of it. Let's go to the defense opening. Mr. Jackson. Yes, Mr. Jackson. Some big Jackson energy, right? Wait. Let me make sure I didn't go.
This will show that. The evidence will show. The evidence in this case will establish above.
Is that the very start? Yeah, because there's Brennan. Hi, Bussy. Mr. Brennan. Okay. That'll do.
This will show that.
The evidence will feel like it'll do.
The evidence.
Forgive me, I'm a total professional. Okay, we've got it.
Right, thank you, Mr. Jackson.
Could I have just a moment to readjust?
Sure, the court officers will be kind enough to help you.
Interesting. Hi, Laura. Good to see you. Hi, Anya. Good to see you. I missed a few people. Hi. I see.
May I? The evidence in this case will establish above everything else 3 points. There was no collision with John O'Keefe. There was no collision. There was no collision. John O'Keefe did not die from being hit by a vehicle. Period.
Full stop.
The facts will show that. The evidence will show that. The data will show that. The science will show that. And the experts will tell you that. You'll learn that the Commonwealth has pinned its entire case on a brazen and a flawed assertion that is untethered, unconnected to the facts and to the evidence. And their assertion is contrary to science. Because at the end of the day, folks, there was no collision with John O'Keefe.
Some redundant ones, Dave, I reckon. Sidebar.
So how did we end up here? How does Karen Reed end up sitting in that chair on trial for an event that literally never happened? Well, the evidence is going to explain it. And it can be some.
Wait, where's Tiny Table Craig? That's a different guy. Also, he doesn't have anywhere to put his legs. Who's that guy? I was mostly listening today, not often watching. Who's that guy? Who is that guy there? Where's Craig?
Summed up in the following text message at the very beginning of this investigation. A text message of a now fired Massachusetts State Police officer named Michael Proctor.
Mind blown already.
He was the lead investigator on this case. And he was talking about a fellow officer, a fellow cop who owned the property where John O'Keefe's body was found. Text message with a buddy. Question, is the homeowner going to catch any shit? Answer, nope. He's a Boston cop too.
Lurker
That quote
wades
defines
deep. Love a good
the
lurker.
lack of integrity
All the best people
of the
know
Commonwealth's
this.
entire
No, come on.
case, its entire investigation, and this prosecution. During the course of this trial, you'll learn much more about Mr. Proctor, why he said that, and what it really means.
So smart.
What you'll see and hear in this courtroom in the coming weeks is not just a story of a tragic loss. And make no mistake, John O'Keefe's death is and was a tragic loss. But the story you'll hear is about an investigation that was riddled with errors from the beginning, a rush to judgment, conflicted, and corrupted from the start. Corrupted by bias, corrupted by incompetence, and corrupted by deceit. Finally, it was corrupted by a deliberate effort to avoid and to cover up the very truth that you are seeking. You'll find when you hear the evidence that the Commonwealth's case is the literal definition of reasonable doubt. They won't be able to talk their way out of it. They won't be able to explain their way out of it. They won't be able to excuse their way out of it. And they can't meet their extreme burden of proof, which the court will tell you is beyond any and all reasonable doubt and to a moral certainty. Members of the jury, Karen Reed found John O'Keefe dead on the front lawn of a Boston police officer, Brian Albert, at 6 a.m. on January 29th, 2022. Picture the scene.
Eye colors.
Blood-curdling screams, ambulances, emergency lights on, fire engines, ladder trucks, paramedics, patrol vehicles, patrol cruisers, police officers, first responders, firefighters, all swarming all over Brian Albert's lawn, literally feet under his bedroom window. Yet Brian Albert, a sworn peace officer, a first responder himself, never came outside. Never went outside to see what the chaos was about, never went outside to see if he could assist a man in need, never walked outside his house to see if he could help a fallen fellow officer on his own front lawn. More shockingly, you'll learn that lead investigator for the Massachusetts Police, Michael Proctor, never set foot inside Brian Albert's house that day. Never engaged in any investigation inside that house that day, even though a party with much alcohol had just occurred in that house, and even though a Boston police officer was found dead or dying just mere feet from the front door on that lawn. He never secured the crime scene, never separated and secured witnesses. He never properly collected evidence. He never secured the evidence. He never searched for signs of a struggle inside or outside the home. He never properly canvassed the neighborhood. Michael Proctor never did any of these things, even though fellow officers of Michael Proctor's actually mentioned, in their words, not mine, that it looked like John O'Keefe may have been, quote, in a fight. You'll have questions about that conduct. During the course of this trial, you'll find that the Commonwealth will not have answers. You'll see from the evidence in this case that this case carries a malignancy, one that is spread through the investigation. It's spread through the prosecution from the very start, from the jump. A cancer that cannot be cut out, a cancer that cannot be cured. And that cancer has a name. His name is Michael Proctor. Now, you didn't hear his name in the prosecution's opening statement. Not once. And I suspect that was probably by design. But make no mistake about it. The evidence will show in this case that Michael Proctor is the very definition of the Commonwealth's case. And he's also their Achilles heel.
Boom, Mr. Proctor. I just started another poll. I'm going poll crazy. The results in the previous poll were, let me see. I better scroll up a bit. Excuse me. I should have done that. I should have paid more attention first, right? Somebody voted for Brennan out of 30 votes. Okay. And then it was mostly Jackson. God, you guys can probably see it better than I can. Why can't I see it? Anyway, there's a new poll. Hit the votes. Go for it. Do it. I'd love that.
He was the lead investigator on the case officer, the architect of the entire prosecution. You'll learn there's not a single part of this case, folks, not a single part that he didn't touch, that he didn't direct, that he didn't orchestrate personally. Every single bit of it has his fingerprints on it. You'll learn that Michael Proctor was a longtime family friend of the Alberts.
The pauses are great in this,
and he's
right?
been disgraced by his own agency, not by us, by the Massachusetts State Police. Investigated, suspended, and fired. The evidence will show that Massachusetts State Police found Michael Proctor guilty of bringing dishonor to the department for his conduct, not in some other case, not in some tangential case, in this case. The investigation of Karen Reed. Conduct that included bias in favor of his friends, the all-powerful Albert family, and bias against my client, Miss Reed, the outsider. Do you have any idea how hard it is for a state trooper to get fired?
Oof, harsh but fair. Simi says, in my opinion, Chloe was already out of the house. It was kind of a trick question, right? Before the first responders got there. I think one of the young ones who left early took her. Just my hunch. Agreed. Strongly agrees. I agreed. I think it was Tristan and Caitlin. But for me, in the very early days, if we're coming into this as jurors, impossible. Those were that at the scene stuff for me was very sus, including Chloe. I now strongly agree that Chloe was not there by that time. No wonder she didn't bark. But it would have been sus had she not, right? Had she been there and not barked.
The evidence is going to show that Michael Proctor
cannot be true.
Every bit of it. You'll hear that within hours of a Boston police officer being found dead on Brian Albert's lawn, Michael Proctor, the lead investigator, who had investigated exactly nothing up to this point, right at the beginning, made an early pronouncement that Brian Albert himself was not going to, quote, catch any shit, end quote. And that was for one reason and one reason only. He's a Boston cop. The evidence will show that Michael Proctor made this statement in a text conversation with his high school buddies. A text he never thought would see the light of day, certainly never thought we would get a hold of. And when he thought no one was looking, he actually said the quiet part out loud. He's a cop too. We'll give him a pass. You'll learn that in Michael Proctor's world, rank has its privileges. And the evidence will show that's privileges that you don't get and I don't get. But apparently a Boston police officer, Brian Albert, and his friends, they do get. You'll learn that in Michael Proctor's world, he didn't care about finding the truth. In his world, his priority was to protect the brotherhood, to protect that blue wall, to protect his friends who were at the Albert's house that night.
Pause. AJ's mustache looks more lustrous. It looked like he's been maybe he's been putting some beard oil into it to thicken it up. Holly Berry, Micah says, Holly Berry, I'm sorry for how often you probably get that Halle Berry line. It's the first thing that pops into my mind because I love crappy rap and pop music. That's Holly Berry's intro song. It's a thing, Micah. How can you hate it? Only the coolest people have their own songs, right?
Shawty, swing my way. Swing it over here, shawty.
I want to take a step back, if I could, and spend the next few minutes talking a little bit more detail about what the actual facts in this case will show, not based on speculation, not based on surmise, not based on guesswork or conjecture, but the actual true facts that you will learn through the course of this trial. On January 28th, 2022, it was a Friday night. John and Karen had made plans to meet up with friends for drinks. It was a happy and normal night for them. They were affectionate, they were loving, they were in good spirits, nothing out of the ordinary. They started at a local watering hole called C.F. McCarthy's. You've heard that name before and you'll hear it again. And eventually they made their way over to the Waterfall Bar and Grill, another bar where they ended up. When they got to the Waterfall Bar and Grill, the Albert family was already there, already heavily drinking. You'll learn that this was no ordinary family, the Alberts. The Albert family was a well-known Canton family. Some might even describe them as a very powerful Canton family. Brian Albert was there at the waterfall. You'll hear that he's a longtime Boston police officer. His wife, Nicole Albert, was there with him. His brother, Chris Albert, a powerful Canton politician. He sits on the select board. The select board actually governs the police department, the Canton PD. He was there. His wife, Julie Albert, was there. Their daughter, Caitlin Albert, was there. His sister-in-law, Jennifer McCabe, was there. Her husband, Matt McCabe, was also there. They were all there drinking before John and before Karen ever arrived. You'll learn that a man by the name of Brian Higgins, also a law enforcement officer and longtime friend, longtime pal of Brian Albert, he was also there. And the two of them, the two Brians, had been drinking most of the night together.
And day.
You'll see video footage from the waterfall, which will show you that Karen and John were happy. They were affectionate. They were caring. They were loving. Just business as usual, out on a date on a Friday night. But that exact same video footage which lead investigator Michael Proctor plainly chose to ignore that video footage. It paints a very different picture of Brian Higgins. You'll learn that Higgins had romantic designs for Karen. That becomes important.
Right.
Brian Higgins had engaged Karen in flirtatious texts, but days earlier, she had put a stop to it. She had ghosted him, in common parlance. In other words, just ignored him. The evidence will show that the first time he saw her and was in her presence after being rejected by her was when she walked into the Waterfall Bar and Grill along with her boyfriend, John O'Keefe. At 11:58 p.m., just minutes before John ultimately arrived at the Albert residence, you'll see a video at the waterfall of an unsettling interaction, troubling interaction between Brian Higgins and John O'Keefe. And unlike the lead investigator, Michael Proctor, in this case, you won't ignore that evidence. As the bar was closing around 12 midnight, the Alberts invited everybody back to their house for a get-together to just keep the night going. And you'll learn that Karen and John ultimately pulled up to the house. They got out of the SUV to make sure they had the right address. You see, neither John nor Karen had ever been to 34 Fairview. They weren't even sure they were at the right address. And the evidence will establish that John got out of the SUV and went into the house. Let me say that again. The facts unequivocally, the data, the science, the witnesses will all unequivocally establish that John O'Keefe went into the Albert home that night. Eyewitnesses and forensic data will establish that fact. When he didn't come back out, you'll learn that Karen grew increasingly frustrated. She got upset. She was left alone in a car in the cold, in the middle of the night, with the car idling. John had gone into the house. She expected him to come right back out. And when he didn't, seconds turned into minutes, and minutes started to clock away. She left John a voicemail Then another voicemail, voicemail after voicemail after voicemail, text messages. But he was unresponsive. He didn't pick up a single call. He didn't respond to a single text. The longer he didn't respond, the more upset she got. The Commonwealth will intimate, as they already have in their opening statement, that these voicemails are evidence that the two were fighting. The actual evidence in this case, however, will show the exact opposite. You'll hear that Karen was very agitated. You'll hear some voicemails where she's swearing. You'll hear voicemails where she calls him names. There's name calling. But you'll also hear the context of those voicemails. And every single one of those voicemails was left for John after he failed to come back out of the house, after he failed to respond to her voicemails and to her texts. Karen believed John had just left her sitting there, grabbed a beer, was partying with his friends. The evidence will actually show that John and Karen never had a crossword, not a single crossword that entire evening before he left that SUV and went inside the house. And you will learn what Karen had absolutely no way of knowing at the time. It wasn't that he wouldn't respond to her. It's that he couldn't respond to her. And the evidence will show you why. Let's talk about that. We'll introduce you to a doctor named Elizabeth Lopesada, a renowned forensic pathologist.
So new experts, right? They're obviously going to be putting on a much more fulsome defense case in chief. Can't wait.
The medical examiner and a professor at Brown University. She will tell you that the injury to the back of John's head, first of all, was immediately incapacitating. And that has meaning. At the moment he suffered that fatal head injury, he couldn't walk, talk, grab his phone, cry for help, nothing. He was completely incapacitated, completely unconscious from the moment he suffered that injury. He was completely still and incapable of interacting with anyone or anything. But the doctor will tell you something more and just as important.
I think Akasha asks, okay, so here's my question. It actually did not occur to me until just a few minutes ago. Did absolutely no one in that house smoke? All those cops, not one of them smoked. I do not believe for even 1 second that they would be allowed to smoke in that house. I mean, Nicole Albert 100% smokes a pack a day, minimum. I reckon Jennifer McCabe smokes. I think Julie Albert probably smokes. This is speculation, but 100% Coco. I don't know. Interesting question. Are you asking because you believe they would have gone out of the house to do their smoking? And so they would have seen something? I don't know, man.
She'll tell you that John O'Keefe did not suffer from hypothermia, as the Commonwealth will undoubtedly allege. His body showed no signs of it. No frostbite, no cold-induced injuries to his organs, no damage based on cold or frost. Ladies and gentlemen, the scientific evidence and the medical evidence will establish that John O'Keefe had to be injured somewhere else, somewhere warmer, and his body had to have been moved out into the cold. And that's where, ultimately at 6 a.m., Karen found him the next morning. You will learn that John did not have a single injury consistent with being hit by a car. Let me say that again. The evidence will establish that John did not suffer a single injury on his body consistent with having been hit by a car. Not one. You'll learn that John's torso, his ribs, his chest, his arms, his hips, his legs, his knees, his ankles, his feet, all of them, no broken bones, no fractures, no contusions, no torn ligaments, no internal injuries, not even a bruise. Nothing consistent with a car accident, despite the Commonwealth's contention that he was slammed into by a 6,000-pound SUV. Not a bruise. Dr. Lopesada will tell you with medical certainty that, in fact, John was not struck by a vehicle. Medically and scientifically, he could not have been struck by a vehicle. Therefore, as I said, there was no collision. She will tell you that the patterned abrasions on John's right arm, the patterned abrasions you see over my left shoulder, they're not the result of being struck by a car or a taillight. You'll take one look at these injuries and you'll agree with Dr. La Posada. The evidence will show that these injuries are from an animal, like a large dog, like the large dog that was inside the Albert house that night. You'll learn that Brian Albert has actually admitted that his large dog, the family dog, is, quote, not good with strangers. And of course, John, never having been to the house before, was a stranger that night. You'll also learn that oddly, very oddly, after having their family pet for 7 years, a short time after this incident, the Alberts got rid of that dog. They called it rehoming her. But she was gone. Dr. La Posada will also tell you that the injury to John's head was not the result of falling backward onto a flat lawn, cold or otherwise. Rather, Dr. La Posada will tell you with medical certainty that the injury pattern to his scalp was produced by an impact from a raised or ledged surface, a surface that does not exist on Brian Albert.
Miss Shorty, you're muted. Miss Shorty, you're muted.
Thanks, man. That's twice now. The poll. I've ended the poll. 58% of you thought that the more sus thing was the Alberts not coming outside. 26% of you thought that Chloe not barking at the commotion, and only 14% of you thought Jen McCabe's cool, calm 911 call was the most sus. No, it is not, Bettero. Play.
Albert's front lawn where John was found. The medical evidence will establish no hypothermia, no injuries from a car strike, no collision with a motor vehicle. And forensic analysis of John's cell phone, Mr. Brennan mentioned that in his opening statement. The Commonwealth's own...
for goodness sake. Akasha says, and a responsible pet owner would put their dog in another part of the house when they have that much company. I think Chloe was in the basement with Brian Albert and Brian Higgins. They tried to say she was upstairs in the master bedroom. I think she was downstairs in the basement and then removed from the residence entirely very quickly. When Tristan came back, even though he had to get up at 3:30 in the morning to plow, when Tristan came back, because Caitlin is high maintenance, I think that's when they took Chloe, because that wasn't the reason.
Own expert will ultimately support the exact facts that I just told you, including the temperature data. John O'Keefe was injured someplace warmer, and he was moved. That alone is reasonable doubt, but there's much more. You'll also learn that there were many people at that after-hours gathering at Brian Albert's house who would have left by the front door just feet from where John O'Keefe's body would have ultimately been, had he actually been there, right after 12:30 a.m., which is what the Commonwealth's claim is. There were nearly a dozen people who walked out that front door directly adjacent to the precise spot where John O'Keefe would have been lying. Not a single person, not one, not a single person saw a 6'2", 216-pound man laying sprawled in the front lawn in dark clothing on a light white dusting of snow. Not one. Then the evidence will also show that every one of those same people drove by that same spot, not walked by it, drove by it to leave the house, and still not one of them saw John laying in the yard when they left between 1 a.m. and 2 a.m. in the morning. But you know who else you'll find never saw a body on that lawn? The snowplow driver.
Lucky.
A completely independent witness charged with plowing the streets in Canton that night. You'll hear that Michael Proctor, he's not done yet, Mr. Proctor. You'll hear that Michael Proctor wrote a report where he claimed that Fairview had not been plowed that night. You'll learn that that was completely false. That was a lie. Michael Proctor did not want any more witnesses.
Hi, Karen Reed is innocent.
And he falsely claimed that the road was never plowed. You'll learn that he wouldn't look for the plow driver, but we did. And we found, and we'll introduce you to, Brian Loughran. He plowed Fairview that night, and what he's going to tell you is that there was no body on that lawn at 2:30 in the morning. You'll learn that Brian Loughran passed by 34 Fairview, traveling right next to Brian Albert's front yard, and at 2:30 a.m., John O'Keefe was not there. But you'll see that the plow driver also provides some other troubling information, troubling testimony for the Commonwealth. You'll learn that after making that pass at 2:30 a.m., he showed up with his plow an hour later. He stopped at the entrance of Fairview. He was looking up Fairview to decide whether or not to plow it, but he saw an obstruction. At 3:30 a.m., he looked down the street, and in the very spot precisely where Karen would later find John's body laying at 6 a.m., there was a car parked in front of it.
You stop. It's annoying.
A Ford Edge. You're going to ask yourself, who's moving a car at 3:30 in the morning into a blizzard on the side of the road? You'll learn that Michael Proctor, the lead investigator, intentionally ignored this fact as well. He did no investigation to find out who owned a Ford Edge. But again, we did. And the evidence will establish that Ford Edge happens to be a favorite model of the Albert family. More than one Albert owned a Ford Edge at the time. You'll learn that those facts will add to the mounting and the overwhelming evidence that there was no collision and John O'Keefe's body was moved onto that lawn. You'll find that this is yet additional reasonable doubt in the case. You'll be introduced to science and physics, even from the Commonwealth's own experts. That science will establish that Karen Reed's SUV was not damaged by hitting a pedestrian, and conversely, John O'Keefe's injuries did not come from being struck by a vehicle. The Commonwealth mentioned triggering events, but what you'll actually learn from the experts, some of them the Commonwealth's own experts, is that a triggering event is not evidence of an accident. It does not evidence a collision. That's why we're here, a collision. And there's no evidence of one, zero. You'll also find that those exact sort of triggering events that the Commonwealth will rely on are relatively commonplace on Karen's SUV, and none of them are associated with a claim of a collision. Folks, the science will not lie and the physics cannot lie. And that science will tell you with certainty there was no collision with John O'Keefe. You'll add that to that rising mountain of reasonable doubt. I want to take you back to the night in question, January 29th, for just a few minutes. Remember, Karen had gone home after dropping off John and John walking to the house. While Karen was asleep at home with John's 13-year-old niece, what were the people who had been at Brian Albert's house that night? What were they doing? While she slept, what you'll find and what the evidence will show is that they were extremely busy. You'll learn that after a long night of heavy drinking, Brian Higgins left the Albert residence, but he didn't drive home. Rather, he drove over to the Canton Police Department, where he kept an office at about 1:25 a.m. Not a Canton police officer, but he kept an office there. Why go back to his office at 1:25 a.m.? Why go back to the Canton Police Department at 1:25 in the morning on the night of a blizzard? You'll learn that while there, Higgins made a call at 1:30 a.m. Higgins will later deny that he made that call. You'll find that curious. And his explanation for that late night visit to Canton PD, you'll find that it changes nearly every time he's asked about it. You'll learn that after everyone left Brian Albert's house, Brian Albert actually claimed he had no contact with anybody else except his wife. No contact. Until he woke up the next morning. So he says. Then you'll learn that that too is a complete lie. His phone records establish that he placed a call to none other than Brian Higgins at 2:22 a.m. shortly after Higgins completed that late night visit over to Canton PD. You'll wonder, what did they possibly need to talk about at 2:22 a.m. that night? The evidence will establish that Brian Albert called Brian Higgins first. Brian Albert then disconnected that call when Higgins didn't answer it. Seconds later, Brian Higgins returned the call. Brian Albert then did answer that call. They spoke for 22 full seconds, had a conversation, then they both hung up their respective phones. You'll learn that when they were asked about these calls and conversations, both Brian Albert and Brian Higgins lied about it. Both of them. They said they never had a call with each other. But then ultimately, when they were confronted with their own cell phone records and they could no longer deny the calls, they were asked independently, explain yourself. And they both came up with the exact same explanation. A butt dial.
A butt dial.
The evidence will make you question, why did Albert and Higgins speak at 2:22 a.m.? And why did they both try to cover up that phone call? You'll also learn after this incident and within days of one another, both Brian Higgins and Brian Albert, both police officers, both trained investigators, got rid of their phones.
It's not that he doesn't have lips, it's that he's got a very prominent lower jaw and missing some lips.
Both of them. And what else you'll learn, Brian Albert got rid of? Shortly after this incident, Brian Albert got rid of his house, the whole thing, just sold it. His childhood home, a home that had been in the Albert family for generations, he literally sold it mere months after this incident.
I'm just
Dog rehomed,
observant.
phones destroyed, house sold. You'll learn that all these things happened shortly after the incident where John O'Keefe was found unresponsive and dying in Brian Albert's front lawn. And you'll also learn that Michael Proctor looked the other way. He did not investigate any of what I'm telling you. He pre-selected Karen Reed from the start.
I hate that man. I truly hate him.
And he ignored everything and everyone else. Let's get back to what was happening with the others while Karen slept. What you'll learn during this trial is that Brian Albert's sister-in-law, you've heard her name before, Jennifer McCabe, she was at the waterfall that night and she was over at the Alberts' house that evening as well. She left the after-hours gathering about 2 a.m., a little before 2 a.m., got home around 2 a.m. And you'll learn that according to the Commonwealth's own evidence from a forensic software program called Physical Analyzer made by Cellebrite, it's considered the gold standard for forensic tools. You'll learn that a Google search was discovered on Jennifer McCabe's phone. A Google search that Michael Proctor and his investigators never revealed to us, but we found anyway. A Google search that was time-stamped according to their own data at 2:27 a.m. 5 minutes after that 2:22 a.m. call that Higgins and Albert denied having. And that Google search on Jennifer McCabe's phone read, Hoslong to die in cold. Hoslong to die in cold. Now she misspelled the first word.
Isn't she what?
How? But the meaning's the same. How long does it take to die in the cold?
Say
Timestamp,
it. Say chowder.
2:27.
Well,
And then that search was also noted by the same Cellebrite program as having been deleted. The evidence will force you to ask, why is there a search on her phone? Why is it logged at 2:27 a.m.? When the Commonwealth claims that she first learned of John's death and where his body was hours later at 6 a.m.
Right. Great.
So what you'll learn is that while Karen slept, here's what was actually happening by some other very busy bees. 1:25 a.m., Brian Higgins makes an unexpected visit to Canton PD. 1:30 a.m., he makes a phone call that he later denies ever making. At 2:22 a.m., Brian Higgins and Brian Albert talk. They both deny and lie about having made that phone call. 2:27 a.m., 5 minutes later, a Google search appears on Jennifer McCabe's phone, Hoslong to die in cold, hours before John's body was ever discovered. A Google search she denies making, and that she later, or at least it was later logged as deleted. Meanwhile, at 2:30 a.m., the plow driver confirms that O'Keefe's body was not on the lawn of Brian Albert's house, not at 2:30 in the morning. And at 3:30 in the morning, that area was obstructed by a Ford Edge like the one the Albert family liked to own. The evidence will show in the meantime, Karen dozed in and out of a fitful sleep for the rest of the night, only to awaken just before 5 a.m. And that's when she realized in a panic, John had never come home. And you'll see, it wasn't like John to not come home. That morning, you'll see and hear evidence that Karen's emotions had morphed. It'd gone from frustration and anger, which you'll hear in the voicemails, to abject fear. Fear that something bad had happened. The evidence will establish by this time, Karen was panic-stricken. She had a feeling something was very, very wrong. She was unable to get a hold of John. Karen went to go look for him. She got in her Lexus and she backed up to leave her garage at One Meadows. You'll hear a lot about that address, One Meadows. That was John's house where Karen was staying. She backed out of the garage, and during the course of the trial, you'll hear that she actually struck another car with that right rear taillight. During the course of this trial, the Commonwealth is going to desperately claim that Karen Reed's taillight was actually damaged by hitting John O'Keefe.
Brooklyn asks, who are you guys talking about? Well, some of chat is being very cruel about Mr. Underbite here, the Nebucracker, the intern. Not me. I'm just giggling. There's a new poll. Please vote.
They'll have no evidence of it, mind you. None. But they'll make the claim. We'll show you a video of exactly how that taillight was originally damaged, or exactly what happened at 5:07 in the morning. The facts will show that it was damaged in John's own driveway at 5:07 when Karen backed up and made contact with another car in the driveway. This is 5 hours after she dropped John off and he went into the Albert residence. As a result, the taillight was minimally cracked, but it wasn't completely shattered or damaged or broken. And that's the condition of the SUV when Michael Proctor got a hold of it. That becomes important. You'll hear from an independent police officer, an eyewitness to the damage on that SUV, someone not connected to Michael Proctor or under his control. And he'll tell you that he saw the taillight damaged before it was in Michael Proctor's possession, but it was not completely shattered. And you won't have to speculate how that taillight got cracked originally. You'll see it for yourself. It's on video. You'll learn that part of the reason that Karen's Lexus hit that car at One Meadows is because she backed out looking for him at a time when she was absolutely panic-stricken and grief-stricken. Where was John? Why hadn't he come home? What had happened to him? Is he hurt? Is he passed out somewhere? Her mind was reeling. The evidence will establish she wasn't giving anything away. Everything was on the table. What could have happened to John? You'll learn that when she woke up and he still wasn't home, she was just racking her brain for what could have happened to him. And she was worried about possibly the worst. He had gotten out of the car. He'd walked to the house. She was confused. And later, when she found him at 6 a.m. on the lawn, where she last saw him going toward the house, her mind started reeling, oh my God, did a plow hit him? Did I hit him? Could I have hit him? What could have happened to him? And that video clip that you saw, out of context, when she said the words, he did not look like he was mortally wounded, she's not talking about at midnight. She's talking about at 6 a.m. when she found him. That's what she was talking about.
Exactly.
Your job will be to make sure that the evidence isn't presented to you too cute by half. She was saying all those things. Did a plow hit him? Could I have hit him? Did I hit him? She was saying that to herself and to other people. And the Commonwealth, very obviously, will try to seize on that panic and twist this into some admission. But here's the actual truth. That's not a confession. Could I have hit him? Did I hit him? Could a plow have hit him? That's a person trying to make sense of an unexplainable circumstance, a natural concern of a bereaved significant other. A woman desperately trying to piece together what could have happened on this tragic night. John didn't come home. And the evidence will show that.
Hi, Trial Channel. I didn't think that you'd be here tonight. I thought you'd have your work cut out for you, but maybe it's the place to let your hair down. Good to see you. The hardest working girl on YouTube, our Trial Channel. If you haven't already subscribed, you need to. Simi says, I'm extra weird. My base is pink sparkly Luna. Did I see Luna's here also? Back to the typo conversation. Lord have mercy, the number of typos I did as a mod. I am a mod, Colours. In the Justice Serve TV stream today was off the charts. I kept doing, my phone kept auto-correcting to injection instead of objection. I'm like, oh my goodness, oh my goodness. Oh, it's embarrassing. Poppy, please.
Karen Reed never said, I hit him. Never. not in the background of the 911
What are
recording,
they?
not on any dash cam video, not on any audio, not on any police body cam, not to a first responder. It's never mentioned in a single report. It's never reported in a single report from January 29th, not by one person, because it never happened. The evidence will show that the evidence will show that there were at least 13 members of law enforcement or first responders and 2 civilian witnesses that were intently focused on what was happening at that scene. They were all over the lawn. They were all over Karen. Officer Sarath, Mullaney, Good, Lank, EMT Nuttall, Flamati, Kelly, Walsh, Woodbury, Whitley, Becker, Robery, McLaughlin, Carrie Roberts, Jennifer McCabe. They were all there watching and listening. On January 20th.
How good is AJ's use of tempo and tone and volume, dramatics? He's so good, so good, so good, riveting, and also wait, let me just carry on. I'll check.
29th, when John O'Keefe was found, not one first responder reported having heard Karen Reed say the words, "I hit him." Not one. Not one civilian reported having heard Karen Reed say, "I hit him."
And AJ's opening was a little bit longer than Brennan's. God. Brennan's was, just under, what? 20, 30, 40, 50. Just under 50 minutes. And AJ's was my brain. Oh, no, the same. No, wait. What am I talking about? Wait. Oh, my God. About the same. Pretend I never said anything. Total professional. Maths.
The facts will show that the first time this improved statement was ever claimed to have been made was some 24 hours later by a single EMT in an interview. Now, listen to this. In an interview coordinated by a Canton police detective named Kevin Albert, Brian Albert's brother. And remember, Chris Albert, the other brother, is a board selectman to whom the Canton Police Department reports. And what's more, you'll learn that Katie McLaughlin, that's the EMT, that's the single EMT, the first person to have claimed to have heard this unrecorded and unreported statement, is years-long, close personal friends with a young woman named Caitlin Albert. You heard that right.
Boom.
It's Brian Albert's daughter. During the course of this trial, you'll become familiar with and you'll realize that the Alberts are indeed a powerful and indeed an influential family, and that will mean something. You'll learn that there are other major problems with the prosecution's case. The evidence will establish that Michael Proctor himself, the lead investigator and architect of this entire case, has a long-standing and personal relationship with the Albert family. Yes, that same Albert family. His sister was close friends with Julie Albert. He personally sat at head tables at weddings, or at a head table at weddings with the Albert family. He entrusted the Alberts with babysitting his own children. You heard that correctly. And yet he was the lead detective assigned to investigate the circumstances of a Boston police officer laying dead on the Alberts' front lawn. That's not just bias, you'll learn. That's not just coincidence. That, folks, is corruption. And you'll see how far it went.
Pause just to say, chat, Murder Church is tricky for me with the time difference. It's like it's like midnight for me. Maybe a bit earlier, 11. I'm asleep then. PM, 11 p.m. And same with the Tuesday night one. That's easier. I can't come into Phil Spector trial in episode number 969.
Michael Proctor was alone with all the critical evidence in this case, alone with Karen Reed's phone, alone with John's phone, alone with video footage, alone with the taillight material, alone when he claimed to recover evidence from 34 Fairview. He wrote the search warrants. He transported the evidence. He secured it. He submitted it. He did it all. That's Michael Proctor. And he did it without any reasonable oversight.
I hate
You'll
that
see
man.
during
I
the
truly
trial
am.
that he intentionally lied and fabricated evidence during the course of this investigation. He lied in reports, warrants, he lied under oath. He lied about the time that he actually secured Karen Reed's vehicle. Why? Why would he lie about that? The evidence will give you the answer. He lied because he did not want it revealed that he had access to that vehicle and he had access to that taillight before any taillight fragments were found
I
at
hate that
34
man. I truly
Fairview.
hate him.
Appreciate that. He had access to the vehicle before a single piece of taillight material was ever found at the scene. You'll find that there were two searches. The first and second search found zero, nothing. Nothing around John's body, nothing in the street, not one piece of taillight fragment. But once Michael Proctor had that SUV and had the taillight in his custody and control, suddenly items started magically showing up, and not just a few items, 46 pieces of bright red taillight laying in the snow, supposedly found in the exact same spot that was searched not once, but twice by independent officers. It came up with zero. To be clear, you'll learn that before Michael Proctor had access to that taillight, not a single piece was ever recovered at 34 Fairview. That will become vitally, vitally important. And what about those shards of plastic, by the way? What about this DNA that the Commonwealth mentioned? They're going to try to dazzle you with talk of DNA because it sounds so scientific. DNA was on the taillight, but you'll learn that there was no DNA on the actual shards that they claim came in contact with John's arm. None. There was no blood, no tissue, no skin, no DNA on a single shard of plastic that they claim cut deep abrasions into John's arm, the arm that you saw overhead.
Furrows.
The
Furrows.
DNA that was actually found, the actual science will show it was found outside of the taillight housing where anyone with access to that vehicle would have touched. And it wasn't just one male's DNA. In that exact same sample, there were 3 men found, John and 2 unidentified males. So unless the Commonwealth is going to shift their theory that that SUV hit 3 men that night, their entire theory falls apart. And speaking of DNA, the evidence will further establish that John O'Keefe's shoe, the one that he was wearing when he was found, was sampled. And that DNA revealed 5, count them, 5 unidentified males. Recall that the evidence will establish independently that John was injured someplace warmer and had to be moved onto that lawn. 5 unidentified males touching that shoe. You'll also learn that you are not the first person, not the first to hear about the Commonwealth's theory of this case.
That's assault.
That John was hit by an SUV. That's their theory. The Commonwealth presented this exact same claim to their own medical examiner, a woman by the name of Dr. Irini Scordi-Bello. And you'll learn that after reviewing what's called a law enforcement accident notifier, with law enforcement's theory of the collision written in it, defined in it, after conducting the autopsy herself, after examining John's injuries in detail, she refused to conclude that John's death was a homicide based on the Commonwealth's presentation and their theory. That's right. The Commonwealth's own medical examiner will not deem the manner of death in this case, a homicide. She won't do it.
Do it. Do it. I'd love that. Missed it. Missed the time.
I have 2 words. Do it. Do it. I'd love that.
Motion to screen what the fuck granted. Did we know about the 5 DNA signatures on the shoe before? I don't remember it. I don't think that's such a big, I mean, it is a mic drop moment for opening statements, but think about what shoes do, and think about touch or contact DNA. I don't know what kind of DNA samples they were, but shoes be walking all over gross shit all the time, right? He'd just been out to the pub. I don't know if that's as much of a mic drop moment, but it sounded good. We'll find out.
But they're nonetheless back again trying to present the exact same theory to you in this trial.
Thank you,
again,
Steve.
The evidence will show that that is reasonable doubt. Throughout this trial, the Commonwealth will try to convince you of paranormal events, phones calling themselves, messages deleting themselves, Google searches made and then unmade, evidence magically appearing and evidence magically disappearing. But all that smoke and all those mirrors will not ever reach their burden.
Puppy, you're crazy today.
Because that's what this case is ultimately about.
Yeah,
it's about the Commonwealth's burden of proof. You'll learn that during the trial, the Commonwealth bears the highest burden known to our justice system. They must prove every element of every charge beyond a reasonable doubt and to a moral certainty. And you'll learn that moral certainty means the highest level of certainty known in human affairs. It's not a small thing.
It ain't no thing. Good point. Motion to screen good point. The trial channel. Also, you what the fuck? It's good because no one even tried to explore who the other contributors were. So in terms of the Bowden defense, the incompetent investigation, it's actually good. It kind of doesn't matter. It almost doesn't matter that they didn't. It's almost good for that defense that they didn't try to determine who were the contributors to that DNA, right? Because it goes to that Bowden defense that this was a shoddy, shitty tunnel vision investigation. It's good. Not good for our curiosity, for those of us who need to know what happened and where. I mean, we can speculate till the cows come home. Akasha had a good point, though. From the bathroom floor, we all know what happens in there. Gross.
They're not going to be able to do that. Not when every piece of this case was handled by a disgraced investigator with a motive to protect his friends, not when the physical evidence contradicts their very theory, not when their own medical examiner won't call this case a homicide based on the exact theory that they're presenting to you, not when the conduct of those in the House and the utter lack of investigation speaks volumes about those who actually have something to hide. By the end of this trial, you'll conclude that Karen Reed is not guilty of hitting John O'Keefe with her SUV. There was no collision. She's the victim of a botched and biased and corrupted investigation that was never about the truth, folks. It was about preserving loyalty. You'll find that this case is the very definition of reasonable doubt. And at the end of this trial, we'll ask you to return the only verdicts, all three of them, that are consistent with the evidence, the science, the truth, and justice. Not guilty, not guilty, not guilty. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr.
Just press the wrong button.
Folks,
Oh my
why
God, I
don't
was
we
going to
take
do almost
our
X'd out of everything. Yikes. Bravo, Jackson. I almost did a Melanie Little and thought I'd swipe myself out of the stream. It's happened before, like, obviously. Thank you, Steve. Gifting 5. Bloody legend. Welcome, new shorties. Welcome, new shorties. Scrolling, scrolling, scrolling. Nicholas Ticklus is in the house. Hi, Nick. I did listen to the opening statements. HB was okay, but AJ was electrifying. Even his audio was better. Bravo, Mr. Jackson. Bravo, sir. Absolutely, Nick. We had a poll at the start of the stream, and someone voted for Brennan's as being their most favorite out of all 4 opening statements so far. Well, ever. And no, what the fuck? That's not today. Thank you for the private chat. Yes, correct. No, that's not tonight. Enjoy all the new members. Thank you. Okay, so we're not going to listen to Mr. Furrow's direct examination because, like, lies. However, let me just check the timestamp. Thank you, motion to screen. What the fuck granted for the timestamps, you bloody legend. Multitasking queen. Wait, let me check. 3:50? Am I right? 3, no. Yes, 3:54:15. Boom. Walk and talk, chat. Walk and talk. Here we go.
Mr. Nuttall, they've been shown.
The end of Brenny.
Yes.
Brennan. There you go.
Thank you. May I approach?
Yes.
Thank you.
Just the last few minutes. But also not.
No objection.
Can I show you a photograph?
Yes, sir.
Sir, do you recognize what's in that photograph?
Yes, sir. Those are the scratches on Mr. O'Keefe's arm.
Does that appear the same as when you saw his arm that morning, or is there any differences? And if there's any differences, can you share?
I'm muting the video on purpose, but letting it play. The poll just ended for typos. How often do you typo? Sometimes was 43%, equally tied with every third word, 43%, and all the liars said never. Only 23 of you voted. What's doing with that? What's doing with that? Okay. He's lost some weight, Mr. Nuttall, since the last time. He also had a haircut, or perhaps he's growing out his Conehead's shave. I don't know. Look at this photograph. Alan had the dude shaking in his boots. Yes, shaking inside. He was almost crying. Ooh. And then he proceeds to tear this guy apart for 69 hours. Typo there, Akasha. Excuse me. So I was going to start another poll in a moment, but let me just unmute this so I can do
The same,
that.
or substantially the same area where you helped try to
We
treat
don't
John
want to
O'Keefe?
hear this.
Request permission, could I publish?
No.
Yes, sir.
And do you recognize that?
I do.
Tell us about any differences between when you were there and what you see in that photograph.
The street appears to be plowed. There's bare pavement. The weather conditions are significantly better. It is also daytime.
If we could take down that exhibit 2, Ms. Gilman. May I approach, Your Honor?
Yes.
I would move to introduce this as exhibit 3.
All right.
Exhibit 3, so marked.
Request permission, I'd like to publish exhibit 3.
Sure.
Is that the photo you just identified?
Yes, sir.
Okay, we can take that down, thank you. Thank you, sir. I have no further questions, Your Honor.
All right. Jackson?
New poll, chat. New poll.
Let's get ready to rumble.
I have 2 words. Do it. Do it. I'd love that.
Go, AJ.
Thank you, Your Honor. May I?
Yes, please.
I am the new
Good
poll
morning,
girl.
Good
I have a
afternoon,
new
Firefighter
special
Nuttall.
interest.
Good afternoon, sir.
polls.
Nice to see you again.
You as well.
Before your testimony this morning, how many conversations had you had with any member of the prosecution team in anticipation of your testimony today?
I believe it was 3, sir.
When were those?
I could not give you dates off the top of my head.
Give me a time frame within the last 3 weeks, within the last 3 months, last 3 days.
Within the last 3 weeks, I believe one the week after that, and then one last night.
One
Last night.
last night. What you did discuss, let's take them in order. First of all, who'd you meet with 3 weeks ago?
I met with Mr. Brennan and his staff.
And when you say his staff, who else?
I honestly couldn't tell you, sir.
Mr. Lally?
No, sir.
Male, female?
One female, one I believe state trooper.
Okay. Had you ever met State Trooper Tully previously?
Yes, sir. Actually, I believe that was him.
It was State Trooper Tully,
Yes, sir.
whom you've met with several times, correct?
Prior to that, I believe only once or twice.
He was the one that he has formally interviewed you previously, correct?
I believe he arranged the meetings with Mr. Brennan, but
Okay.
Beyond that, I can't speak to.
What did y'all discuss 3 weeks ago?
The first meeting, going in order, it was mostly just kind of an introduction. I had not met Mr. Brennan yet. I really didn't know him. So it was mostly that, and then just kind of seeing where we were at with testimony, going over previous testimony and in that sort of realm.
Prior to today, how many times have you testified under oath concerning the incident on January 29th, 2022?
Once at a grand jury hearing and once last year.
All right. As a matter of fact, last year in this courtroom.
Yes, sir.
Okay. Did you look over your testimony at the grand jury 3 weeks ago during that meeting?
No, sir.
What about the testimony from last year?
We did go over the testimony from last year. Yes, sir.
Were there any issues that Mr. Brennan or anybody else in that meeting brought up concerning any of your testimony?
There was just a question of how many times the I hit him came up. It was 3 times.
And were you advised that that's not what you said at your testimony last year?
No,
sir. 2 times?
What was that?
You said it was 2 times last year?
I honestly can't recall, sir.
Okay. But you just saw that, or you just read that and went over that 3 weeks ago.
I believe so, sir. Yeah.
But you can't remember, as you sit here today, just 3 weeks ago, what y'all discussed in terms of how many times you previously testified that you heard the phrase, I hit him.
They previously testified possibly to 2, but it was 3.
Okay. Your memory is clearer now than it was, for instance, a year ago when you testified.
Repeat that?
Sure.
Well,
Your memory is clearer now as you sit here that it was 3 times you heard that than it was a year ago when you testified that it was 2 times.
Yes, sir.
Okay. Does your memory get better with time generally? Your memory. I'm not talking about the royal you. I'm talking about you.
In certain settings, I mean, there are certain things about different aspects that I recall better than others.
Okay. And does your memory tend to get better or does it fade over time? That's my question.
It can fade over time, but it depends on the context.
But in this case, you're telling this jury that your memory is better now than it was a year ago when you testified about the exact same circumstance, correct?
Yes, sir.
Okay. You then met
What was that
about
facial?
a week after that, which would be 2 weeks
He's
ago.
thinking so hard.
Yes, sir.
Who'd you meet with then?
The same group.
And what did you discuss at that meeting?
Again, just prior testimony, and that was really the gist of it.
And tell me the specifics of the prior testimony that you.
Again, it was the how many times we had talked about saying I hit him. Again, it was 3 times, and then there was also the video that was just played for me.
If I'll take the video in just a second. If y'all had met 3 weeks ago.
Pause. Did anyone have a moment of surrealness today at any time where you were like, wow, like when I was watching EDB second time round, I watched the first time through with Justice Serve TV, and then watching EDB, and I was just kind of listening and watching and going, yeah. And I'm like, wait, like a record scratch. This is Karen's second trial. This is ridiculous. It's wild. It's surreal. Did anyone else have any of those moments today? I did. This was so beautiful to watch. It got a little muddy, but AJ got there in the end. I couldn't believe what. Also, could you believe all of the cross, recross, direct, redirect, redirect, direct, redirect, direct, recross, cross.
And you indicated to Mr. Brennan that it was actually 3 times, not 2 times that you heard the I hit him. Why did you need to discuss it again a week later to verify the 3 times versus 2 times?
Not sure, sir. That was just the way that the conversation went. And I just, again, repeated what I said and what I remember from that morning.
Well, tell me about that conversation. Did Mr. Brennan say anything like, well, are you really sure that she said it 3 times?
It was that morning what was said to you. And I said, I hit him. That was how it went that morning, and that was how
Lally said it was 4 times.
And did Mr. Brennan say, well, that's not consistent with how you've testified previously concerning the number of times you heard the I hit him phrase?
Yes, sir.
He did say that.
He wanted to, he acknowledged that I had said it twice. However, again, as I mentioned, it was said 3 times to me.
So now you do remember last year that you only said that it was repeated twice.
One more time, sir.
So now you do recall that last year when you testified, it was inconsistent with how you're testifying today. Let me put it that way, correct?
I believe I said I hit him twice on the stand last year.
Right. And if you're saying I hit him 3 times instead of twice, that firefighter Nuttall is inconsistent with your testimony today, correct? You
yes,
agree
sir,
with that?
But that is how it went that morning, sir.
Okay, that's not my question. Let me see if I can do it again. So I'm asking you if you testified last year
Yes, sir.
that you heard the phrase twice.
Mhm.
And now a year goes by and you're testifying in front of this jury this year that you heard it 3 times. Those two statements
Thank you all
are
for being here.
inconsistent with one another, correct?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Thank you for being here. I know there's plenty of other places you could be tonight, so I really appreciate you being here. Thank you. It means a lot to me.
Did you talk at the meeting 2 weeks ago about any other inconsistencies with your testimony?
Not to my knowledge, sir.
Well, you were there. You
No.
say not to my knowledge, meaning,
No, sir. We did not.
okay. So it was just about the number of times that you heard the phrase, I hit him, correct?
Yes, sir.
All right. You cleared that up in the 2 meetings, 3 weeks ago and 2 weeks ago. What did you talk about last night?
Mostly just making sure that everything was as it had been. I mean, and by that, I mean, it was
No,
3 times.
Steve.
And
Thank you. Thank
that
you for
we
the
were
memberships.
continuously making sure that everything was the way that it had happened that morning.
Everything was the way that Mr. Brennan wanted it to be.
No, sir.
Bingo.
The way that it was in, I remember it and I recall it happening.
Okay. So he asked you 3 weeks ago about how many times you heard that phrase.
Yes, sir.
You changed your testimony at that time and said it was 3 times instead of 2 times. We agree on that, correct?
Yes, sir.
Then he called you a week later or met with you a week later and again reiterated, making sure you stick with that testimony that it's 3 times, not 2 times, correct?
Yes, sir.
And then last night he called you just to make sure one more time you're going to stick with that testimony that it was 3 times, not 2 times, correct?
Yes, sir.
On just a second. May I have just a moment, Your Honor?
Yes.
Okay. And when you talked last night, did you assure Mr. Brennan, nope. When we come in tomorrow, I'm certainly going to say it was 3 times, not 2 times.
No, sir. I told him I would tell my recollection of that morning.
Okay. And did you tell him that what my
Why didn't he just say, we talked about me just speaking the truth to my best of my recollection, because his brain is like overloaded trying to say the words when he knows he's lying. It's hard work for the brain to lie. Takes a lot of extra effort. It's not, his brain ain't braining.
But my recollection is I'm going to tell the jurors it was 3 times that I heard it.
That was what I heard.
Okay. Did you tell him that's what you were going to say today?
No, sir.
You didn't?
I told him I was going to tell him what I remembered from that morning.
Which was what?
I hit him.
Which is how many times?
3 times. Sir.
Lies.
And that's inconsistent with what?
I believe a year ago.
Lies.
Now, you also talked about, I want to get back to the other thing that you talked about. You said that at some point, either in the meeting 3 weeks ago, the meeting 2 weeks ago, or the meeting last night, you were shown a video.
Yes, sir.
Which one of those meetings were you shown a video?
I believe the second one.
Okay. Were you shown the entire video?
No, sir.
Just the clip that we saw?
Yes, sir.
Okay. What did y'all talk about in relation to that video?
Mostly nailing down who was who in that video.
Okay.
Being the other personnel on scene, where I was, and that was about it.
He showed you the clip that you showed. He showed you the clip that you've just seen on direct examination, correct?
Yes, sir.
Did you tell him where you were?
Yes, sir.
Did Mr. Brennan ask you to define exactly where it was that you supposedly heard this phrase, I hit him?
No, I was able to give that to him, sir.
Okay. And what you told him was that moment when you see my client walk over sort of to the left of the screen, correct?
Yes, sir.
And you defined, that's the point at which she said, I hit him, I hit him, I hit him.
Yes, sir.
And that's in response to your question. I want to make sure I'm clear about this. You asked, do you know him?
Yes, sir.
And she repeated the phrase 3 times, I hit him, I hit him, I hit him.
Correct.
Okay. We'll talk more about that in just a second. Did Mr. Brennan ask anything else about that specific video?
No, like I said, he kind of asked me to point out different individuals on the scene, and that was really the extent of it.
You saw that same video last year when you testified, correct?
No, sir.
You didn't see it last year?
Not to my knowledge, no.
In preparation for your testimony last year?
I did not.
Did you see it before your grand jury testimony?
No, sir.
Okay, so this is the first time that you've seen it.
Yes, sir.
And you were able to establish for Mr. Brennan exactly when it was that you believe you heard the statement based on your view about 2 weeks ago of that video?
No, that was the way that I remember it.
Right.
That
Not
morning.
a trick question. My question is much more simple. You were able to establish after than 3.5 years now, exactly where you were and where Miss Reed was and who else was around at the time that you believe you heard those three statements in order. I hit him, I hit him, I hit him.
Yes, sir.
Okay. You testified
Big sigh.
last year as well that there is a normal protocol for removing clothing from a patient, and it's essential to just discard it and get it away from the patient so that you can concentrate on the life-saving measures that you're undertaking, correct?
Yes, sir.
That could be done in
The puffy jacket?
in the ambulance. It could be done in a hospital. It could be done in situ out there in the field, correct?
Yes, sir.
But the point is you want to get as much clothing off of the person as possible so that you can assess that person's physiology.
Yes, sir.
It's not really a lot of care taken to preserve the clothing from an evidentiary standpoint in your view, correct?
And we're trained to try and, just to take example of a shooting, try not to cut through the entrance wound of the clothing.
Fair enough. I mean, when you're literally trying to save someone's life, your job is to get the clothing off and get it out of the way.
Yes, sir.
You're not sticking it in an evidence bag and sealing the evidence bag, things of that nature.
No, sir.
So it might end up on the ground.
Yes.
Right? Might end up with some debris on it.
Yep.
Might end up in the floor of the ambulance.
Yes, sir.
Could end up in the floor of the hospital or on the floor of the hospital. Is that right?
Yes, sir.
Okay. And if it's tossed in the floor of the ambulance, the clothing may well pick up debris from the ambulance.
Oh, yeah. Yes, sir.
Or the debris from the floor of the hospital or wherever.
Mhm.
Is that yes?
Yes, sir.
Okay. You testified previously.
Most discreet, what the fuck? I was like, see that MERP face? My brain's going MERP. MERP. What is MERP? I don't know what that means, but I love it. Like, is it just like MERP?
The grand jury in April of 2022, correct?
Yes, sir. I believe so, sir.
Okay. So this happened in January of 2022. That same year, in the springtime, you testified at a grand jury, April 20th, I think it was.
Yes, sir.
Does that sound right?
Yes.
Okay. I want to take you back to that testimony for a second. You testified at that hearing that Mr. O'Keefe was, quote, dressed appropriately for the weather. You remember that?
Yes.
Akasha says, I feel like that sign meant I gave a chance. I did not want to destroy you, but you have given me no choice. Yes. Strong Trooper Paul vibes here, right? For me, the cringy embarrassment for this Muppet, this MERP, and first cab off the ranks. So first witness. And I mean, Brennan knew, surely, unless it's hubris, Brennan had to know that Jackson or somebody was going to just decimate Mr. Furrows. He's got this. Jackson's just like, okay, I'm going to dissect you surgically, and like.
Yes, sir.
All right. It was obviously well below freezing at that time.
Yes.
That night that you responded.
It was.
We just seen the video. It looks cold as hell, right?
It was chilly.
All right. The wind was howling.
Yep.
It was snowing. Is that right?
Yes, sir.
And you testified that John O'Keefe, quote, had a heavy coat on and possibly 2 other layers of
Chat,
clothing.
we want to
Yes,
see
sir.
you.
In April 2024, you reiterated your very specific memory of and you even called it a puffy heavy coat that he was wearing, which was then removed so that you could assess.
He
his
just went out the
injuries,
window.
correct?
I'll
Yes,
get him
sir.
another
All
time.
Not to get too colloquial, but a puffy coat is like, it's got down and stuff in it, right?
Correct.
Looks kind of like Stay Puft Marshmallow Man, right?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Pretty distinctive article of clothing.
Yep.
And you testified last year that Mr. O'Keefe was wearing that clothing, which you had to remove or somebody had to remove in order for him to be properly assessed.
I did testify that way. Yes, sir.
Okay. And you mentioned that your memory of that big, heavy winter coat was as clear as your memory of other specifics in this case, correct?
Yes, sir.
I asked you that exact question, didn't I?
You did.
And I said, your memory of him having that big puffy coat on, which stood out in your mind, was just as clear as the other specifics that you've testified to about the case,
Yes, sir.
about that night. And turns out you were completely wrong about his clothing, correct?
Correct.
Matter of fact, he wasn't wearing a coat at all.
No, sir.
He wasn't wearing a winter coat, correct?
Nope.
He wasn't wearing a heavy winter coat, correct?
Correct.
He wasn't wearing a puffy, heavy winter coat.
He was not.
Yet you testified that he was wearing all of that, and that was clear in your mind at the time.
Yes, sir.
Did Mr. Brennan bring that up during the meeting 3 weeks ago?
He asked about what I had meant when I said appropriately dressed.
So you did talk about something other than just the I hit him, correct?
Yes, sir.
When I asked what y'all talked about, why didn't you tell us that?
To be perfectly honest, sir, I did not remember until right now.
So your memory is fading even after 3 weeks.
Yes, sir.
Got it. The fact is, well, let me ask you a different question. Did Mr. Brennan tell you what Mr. O'Keefe was actually wearing?
No, sir. Actually, I believe you did.
Last year, didn't I?
Yes, you did.
It's a short sleeve t-shirt and a little thin wool hoodie, right?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Wasn't wearing a hat.
No, sir.
Wasn't wearing, as a matter of fact, didn't even have a shoe on, correct?
Not to my knowledge.
And obviously, goes without saying, but I'm going to ask it anyway. That's not being appropriately dressed for the winter.
No, sir.
Not unless you tally.
You indicated that you did notice certain injuries on Mr. O'Keefe's person.
And he cracks as well, Missy, right?
Once you got him back in the ambulance, obviously it's lighter, meaning brighter lights. You have more equipment in the back of the ambulance. You can better assess somebody's well-being, correct?
Yes, sir.
And you indicated you had a, quote, much better picture of what we were dealing with, correct?
Yes.
You noticed once in the back of the ambulance that he had trauma to the right side of his head.
Correct.
And as a matter of fact, when you were pointing at it, I'm doing that on purpose because you pointed to the right side of your sort of forehead above your right eyebrow, correct?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Bruh.
The majority or the worst injury that Mr. O'Keefe suffered was actually to the back of his head, which you indicated, you noted was quite matted with blood, correct?
Yes, sir.
Oh, Brooklyn.
I want to talk about the injury to the right side of his head as distinct from the back of the head injury for just a second. Before I get to that in detail, let me ask you, because I just sort of want to cover the bases. You noted the back of the head injury, correct? Is that yes?
Yes, sir.
You also noted the front right side of the head above the right eye, correct?
We did.
You noted some injury to his eyes. They looked blackened.
Yes, sir.
But primarily the right eye was blackened.
Yep.
And there was a golf ball size egg, I think you put it, over his right eye, often called a hematoma.
Correct.
And you also noted when you got his shirt off.
Wait, or hematoba? Hematoba, according to Hank Brennan. What's wrong with Hank Brennan? Is he actually a human? Does he just glitch? Is he like AI?
Off that he had scratches along the right side of his arm. Is that right?
Sir.
You indicated on direct examination today that you believe those scratches ended where? Meaning from top to bottom? And I'm not using anatomically correct language. So from shoulder to wrist, where were the scratches that you noted?
There were several. As I noted, they were on his right humerus area.
Tell me what a humerus is.
The right arm.
Biceps.
Right about here.
Okay.
No, a little further, like between where your bicep and your tricep kind of meet. Right about in there.
Okay. And what did the scratches look like?
They were deep. Infamously referred to them as furrows. But they were quite deep. You could tell that there had been some material removed.
Okay. Material meaning skin and flesh.
Yes, sir.
Okay. Some biological material.
Mm-hmm.
Is that yes?
Yes, sir.
And were they parallel? Meaning they were going in the same direction?
Hank Brennan says hematoba.
Were there any scratches below the elbow?
There were. Yes, there were. They were not as significant as the ones on the upper arm, but they were noted.
Okay. And those were parallel as well?
Yes, sir.
And they looked like scratches to you. That's how you described them?
They did.
Furrows.
Last year, when you described those scratches, you curled your fingers up, exposing sort of the nails, and drew it across your biceps. Is that what you were using to describe what the sort of scratches looked like?
Furrows.
I just kind of used that as a landmark, to be honest with you, sir. It was just kind of how I quantified it in my mind.
Okay, but what you did was you did this motion.
Yes, sir.
As you said, there were furrows, and remember there was an embarrassing moment for me.
Both of us, sir.
I couldn't understand the word furrow.
Hey, my cousin Vinny.
Because of the accent, right?
Yes, sir.
All right. Let's talk a little bit about the hematoma above the right eye for a second. That's basically damage to subdural blood vessels that causes acute swelling, right?
Correct.
And a very common cause of a hematoma over one's eye could be being hit or punched in the face. We talked about that.
There could be several causes for hematoma, such as that.
Obviously. I mean, it could be a golf club, a baseball bat, or it could be a fist.
It could be.
Okay. We talked about that last year. I asked you if the injuries that you saw on Mr. O'Keefe's face, including the laceration over his right eye, was consistent or inconsistent with a physical altercation, and you said it was consistent with a physical altercation as well.
Excuse me?
Objection to referring to past testimony before a question is asked.
Grounds for the objection. Shawshank Brennan,
Do you
you're
remember
allowed to
a
do that.
laceration, in addition to the hematoma, about a 0.8 centimeter laceration over his right eye?
I do.
Tell me I'm using a word that maybe not everybody understands. I didn't understand it when we first started this thing. What's a laceration? What's the difference between that and a cut?
As if you didn't, AJ.
A laceration is they're basically the same thing. A laceration is just a deep cut.
Okay. So it's a parting of the skin.
Correct.
In other words, where the skin separates.
Yes.
And that can be from blunt force trauma, meaning something hits it rather than cuts it.
You can get
Sustained.
What are some of the causes?
Princey, I don't think so, but he did it a couple of times. Definitely that time. Every other time he just says objection, and he says it not objection, like passing a kidney stone, like Lally.
Causes of lacerations.
You can get a laceration, as you noted, blunt force, but you can also get a laceration from a slashing movement, from a stabbing. I mean, that is still a laceration.
What about a hematoma?
That is primarily caused by blunt force trauma.
Right. And the hematoma and the laceration were right next to each other, correct?
Yes, sir.
Okay. And you indicated last year, or let me ask you this way. Is that consistent or inconsistent with a physical altercation?
Objection.
Can you answer that?
I could not say. You're on.
Okay. Next
Did she
question.
ignore you?
Well, last year, you indicate you can't.
I'm going to end the poll. Were you surprised by Furrows Nuttall being the first witness? 55% of you said yes, 14% said no, and 32% of you said nothing surprises me anymore. Boom.
Can't answer that. Last year, you did answer it, didn't you?
Objection.
So I need to see counsel at sidebar for just a minute.
Sidebar. 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 We'll skip through the sidebar. 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 My Boston accent is going to get nice and refined again. Peggy? Wearing blue for John. That's fair. Quite a long sidebar. Oh, he is looking a bit more sharp tonight, isn't he? Today. Wasn't he? Ugh, he's still gross. Paulie Donuts.
Mr. Nuttall, we are going to let you take a break and come back and join us after the luncheon.
Break.
So this is
Sounds good.
the luncheon break. There's lunch here for you.
Walk and talk,
assume
chat.
Tony, is it here? Okay. There's lunch here for you. We'll see you in about a half an hour.
All rise, please. Jury's leaving up city chairs.
I feel like we could use a song, chat. What do you think? During the song, I'll get us all queued up to the next one. Of course, we're going to play Sidebar. Of course. Nicholas Chikolas is back in the house, is he? Nicholas Chikolas, what? No. He's doing some work today, Nick? Like actual peasant work shit? Hope you're not going to get in trouble for being here with us at Camp Shorty. Or are you the boss? Tell us what's happening. This? No, wait. This? Just a very brief music break. It's all right. The masses have all gone to watch Dr. Turtleboy, the hype man. So we can do whatever the fuck we want here, chat, can't we? Let me just go to this.
Now some music. The Supreme Leader decrees it.
Where is it? Oh my God, why isn't it there? Because I'm me. Oh my God, I haven't put it to the very top. What's wrong with me? That wasn't very smooth, was it? For goodness sake. Enjoy.
brutal violence. Your gavel tales and blasphemy. Mr. Jackson, ask it differently. On Team Bev, we know your game. Hanky Brennan has no shame. The lies you thought were told in stealth. Corruption through the Commonwealth. Sidebar, sidebar, pull up, bitch. Sidebar, sidebar, which is which? Dream Team got this, fuck this shit. 'Cause Karen Reed ain't got no quit. Who holds the truth? They hide the proof. Don't say a word, remain aloof. Proctor with the sleight of hand. Outrage screams across the land. Sidebar, sidebar, pull up, bitch. Sidebar, sidebar, which is which? Not an expert, fuck this shit. 'Cause Karen Reed ain't got no quit. Sally Port inversion, factual perversion. Rocks, glass, glass shard in the front yard. Gaslight bullshit, Lexus, Nexus. Anya said John was not hit. Sidebar, sidebar, pull up, bitch. Sidebar, bar, which is which? Dream Team got this, fuck this shit. 'Cause Karen Reed ain't got no quit. Common sense, it ain't so common. Jury gonna use it, ain't no stopping. Make the right decision, get off the fence. Justice is supposed to be blind, not deaf. Free Karen Reed. Here we go again. Free Karen Reed. Let's fucking go. Let's fucking go.
You all are crazy. It's a vibe. Camp Shorty collaboration. Very well done, Shorties. Back to it, huh? Back to it. Only fan. I wonder if Brenny had a
Yes,
little
Dave.
chat
Yes. Yes, please.
Let's get
to
ready to rumble.
Yeah.
wonder if he had little chats with Nut all over the break. It seems like it in the questions. His answers changed a little bit, right? Hey, what are you doing there, feed? Play. Oh, that's not even stressful. Not me, surprisingly. Oh, Court TV, glitchy. KKK. Walk and talk chat.
Can that lead to a small laceration like you saw and a hematoma like you saw?
Objection.
I'm going to allow it. Can you
I
answer that question?
couldn't speak to how that injury occurred.
Is it consistent? Are those injuries, just those injuries, are those consistent with being punched in the face?
Those injuries could be sustained from numerous ways.
And
yes, it could be from that. It could be from others as well.
Okay,
That's
so
smart,
that's what
Ari.
I'm asking. It could be. In other words, it's consistent
Yes,
with
sir.
being punched in the face, correct? Correct. Thank you.
And their sirens are. Yikes.
I want to ask you about this statement that you indicate that you heard that now is 3 statements, 3 phrases, correct?
Yes, sir.
When you heard this statement, describe for me exactly where you were. What were you doing and who was around you?
I was knelt at the head of John O'Keefe with a bag valve mask, delivering ventilations. Firefighter Kelly was to the right, and Firefighter Flamati was on the left side of Mr. O'Keefe, and the 3 of us together were working to perform CPR and ventilations.
And your job, and I hate to butcher it, but
Nope.
you'll correct me.
Yes, sir.
Your job was to do the airway, correct?
Yes, sir.
And I'm picturing a big balloon-like apparatus that you put over the patient's mouth. And
Exactly.
squeeze it.
Yes.
That's as opposed to, it's an advancement on just mouth-to-mouth resuscitation, correct?
Correct. Yeah.
You were the airway person doing the squeezing of the bag.
Correct.
What was Tony Flamati, firefighter Flamati, doing?
He was starting CPR, and which that point was taken over by Firefighter Kelly.
Okay, so firefighter Flamati, when you say starting CPR, describe what that means. What is the physical act of CPR?
So you put both hands together like this, one on top of the other. You put it right on top of the sternum, and you begin doing chest compressions 2 inches deep, allowing full recoil for 100 to 120 beats per minute, compressions a minute to sustain a cardiac rhythm. You're manually making the heart beat with each compression.
Which means that is a rhythmic pumping motion, correct?
Yes, sir.
So if you see someone doing CPR, you're probably going to see their shoulders moving up and down and moving rhythmically, correct? Do you remember what firefighter Flamati was wearing? You had just come off of actually you were just coming onto a shift, so you didn't have all your foul weather gear officially, correct?
I had my puffy jacket. Okay. I had my Canton Fire jacket.
Got it.
Notice his little smile, because the puffy jacket's an awkward thing where he was adamant that he remembered clear as day that Officer John O'Keefe was wearing a puffy jacket, and then no jacket. That was last trial.
Firefighter Flamati, on the other hand, had a bright yellow jacket.
Correct.
Sort of reflective and a safety jacket.
Yes, sir.
And he was kneeling to your left at the time doing, have I got that right?
Yep, nope, yep, you got that right.
Okay, he's kneeling to your left at the time doing chest compressions. That's when you indicate that Miss Reed walked over and made the statement.
Correct.
And Kelly was there as well?
Yes, sir.
Kneeling right beside all 3 of you as firefighter Flamati was giving the chest compressions, correct?
Yes, sir.
Okay. You indicated that the statement was in response to a question that you asked of my client. Do you know him?
Yes, sir.
Is that right?
Correct.
And she responded to you with the phrase that you've used. I hit him.
I hit him. I hit him. I hit him.
Right. So it's absolutely clear in your mind when that statement was made. You were knelt down over Mr. O'Keefe. Firefighter Flamati was doing the CPR, and Kelly was with the both of you when you posed that question.
Yes, sir.
That's actually a good question, Missy. Is he a Nepo baby or something? I mean, it's very not actually inbred in Canton. Missy, his daddy was a firefighter. There you go. There you go. So,
It's a very detailed memory.
Yes, sir.
You indicated, Mr. Brennan, that sticks out in your mind.
Right, Michael?
Is that right?
It does.
But that's not at all what you told Trooper Proctor on February 8th.
Although I'm not saying that Karen actually did say that, but also I can imagine that perhaps Karen wasn't necessarily making any sense. Not saying that he said, "Do you know him?" and she said, "I hit him." It doesn't make sense at all. But in that situation, she was probably saying all sorts of random, frantic stuff. Not I hit him, I hit him, I hit him, though, obviously.
Just 10 days after this incident, is it?
I don't recall what
Same
I told
step.
Trooper Proctor.
I thought your memory got better with time.
I don't recall that meeting. I recall meeting with him, but I don't recall the extent of what was discussed.
You literally don't recall anything that was discussed in that meeting in that formal interview with the lead detective on this case.
We discussed
well
the
enough,
case,
Missy.
but I don't. In his words, I'm not sure what he put down.
What you said to Trooper Proctor on February 8th, 10 days after this, was you overheard Miss Reed say, "I hit him," one time to another female that she was talking to, correct?
Objection.
No, I'll allow it. Did you say that?
I have no memory of this, Your Honor.
Okay, next question.
Did you say that her statement was an answer to a question posed by the female or a discussion with the female?
Break that down for me, sir.
Sure. Did you tell Trooper Proctor
Every
on
time,
February
oh,
8th
Shelley,
that
every
what you
time.
heard was Karen Reed speaking to a female, not answering a question that you posed?
Again, I don't recall that specific question.
Did you tell Trooper Proctor on February 8th while you were rendering aid, and at the time you heard the statement, Miss Reed was actually praying over John? Your words, praying over John.
I don't recall ever saying that.
Does anybody recall that coming up in testimony in trial number 1? I don't, but I mean, can't remember everything, right?
May I have just a moment, Your Honor?
Yes.
Right. How convenient. How is it that I hit him is the only thing not heard? How convenient. Shelley. Maybe we should send Linda in to play poker with Timothy Nuttall. Linda Kenny Barden.
Did you say that you
as
observed
always?
Karen Reed to have blood on her face from providing mouth-to-mouth breaths to Mr. O'Keefe prior to your arrival?
I remember Miss Reed having blood on her face, presumably from attempting CPR.
Do you remember telling Trooper Proctor on February 8th that you saw her with blood on her face from CPR?
I do.
So you remember that portion of your conversation with Trooper Proctor, correct?
Yes, sir.
But the praying over John, praying over the victim, you don't remember.
I don't remember ever saying that. Ever.
And the statement, "I hit him," to another female, you also don't remember that.
No, sir.
Would it refresh your recollection if you were to look at a report
Yes, sir.
authored by Trooper Proctor? May I?
Yes.
AJ looks brilliant today. Gorgeous. Very sharp. I miss Madam Court Reporter. Oh.
May I direct the witness's attention to the second page, Your Honor?
All right, why don't you take a look at that, sir?
I wonder why the iconic original Madam Court Reporter isn't doing this trial. Do we know? Has anyone investigated? Is it too soon? How do we find out? Is she court reporting for another trial at the Dedham Superior Court? Did she say fuck this shit? I'm not doing this again. I can't. Hard pass, hard T. I hope to find out. I hope to find out.
Shawty, swing my way. Swing it over here, shawty.
I hate that man. I truly hate him. Well.
May I approach, Your Honor?
Yes.
Sir, did you have an opportunity to glance at the report that you were just shown?
Yes, sir.
Does that refresh your recollection about your conversation with Trooper Proctor that you put in a report?
It does not, sir.
So as you sit here, you have no memory of what you just read in this report from Trooper Proctor, the lead investigator on the case.
I have no recollection of ever saying
Impeccable.
that anybody prayed over anybody ever in this case.
Thank you, Akane.
You did see it in this report, though.
Sustained.
You've admitted under oath that your memory of the events at that time, from that time frame, January, February 2022, is faulty, correct?
No, sir.
In your April 2024, it's April 30th, 2024 testimony from last year.
He's concentrating so
You were
hard. He's
asked
like,
whether or not your
"What?"
memory was a little faulty, and your answer was absolutely, correct?
Could I have a page and number,
Where is
please?
that, Mr. Jackson?
Volume 8, page 151, lines 14 through 16.
Can you read the lines again?
Lines 14 through 16. I'll just allow counsel to get that up.
If we could pose the entire question and give content to it.
I hate that
Excuse
man. I
me.
truly hate him.
May I?
Yes. So do you intend to show the whole question?
Say what the fuck.
The whole question that I asked and his answer, yes.
All right, and I'll give you the opportunity on redirect, Mr. Brennan, if it's not. Go ahead.
Is it true that in answer to the question, quote, so it's fair to say your memory is a little bit faulty as it pertains to that time frame? Your answer was absolutely.
It's
Correct?
been a long day, y'all, for all of us.
From last year?
What you testified to last year about conversations that you had with Trooper Proctor around February 8th of 2022.
Yes, sir.
And you agree, as you sit here, that your memory is still faulty.
Oh my God, I got the yawns.
About your conversation with him.
Look
The
out.
Trooper Proctor? Yes,
Yeah.
sir.
So you're not saying you
Mr.
didn't
Proctor.
say that the statement was made to a woman, correct?
Objection.
Are you saying that?
No, ma'am.
Okay, next question.
Thank you. And you're also not saying that you didn't say to Trooper Proctor that you saw Karen Reed praying over John O'Keefe.
Objection.
So I'd like you to ask that differently. Did you say that?
I have no recollection of saying that ever.
Okay. Next question.
My point is,
I'm
if you have no
getting some
recollection of it, you're not denying saying it.
Objection.
Are you denying saying it?
Yes.
So you do have a recollection that you never said it. Do you understand the difference?
Oh, sir, I don't believe I've ever said praying. That's really not something that I would have said. I didn't see it that day. It didn't happen. I don't remember ever saying prayed
You didn't
in regards
see
to
it
this case ever.
You didn't see it that day, and it never happened. That was your words just now, correct?
Break that down for me.
You didn't see it that day, and it never happened. That's what you're saying about the praying statement, correct?
Yes, sir.
And in that same exact statement, you also included the phrase, I hit him, correct?
No, sir.
In the statement that you made to Trooper Proctor?
The report that Trooper Proctor wrote?
Correct.
Again, I don't remember ever saying the words praying over him. I do distinctly remember I hit him, I hit him, I hit him.
Which doesn't appear in that report, does it?
Objection.
I'm going to sustain that, Mr. Jackson. You directed him only to page 2.
Understood, Your Honor. I'd like to show you a short portion of a video, the same video that you were asked to look at on direct examination. And Your Honor, I pray to the court, I can certainly mark it as a defense exhibit or for
So is this
identification.
going to be an exhibit by agreement?
It is.
Okay,
It is.
so we now that, Madam Court Reporter, thank you.
Me? You want to show it again? Or them? Them needs a remarkable.
Thank you, Your Honor. With the court's permission, may I play
Chocolate. So good.
a portion of that video for the jurors, publish it?
Okay. Which portion, so people know?
I'm going to start it at about, I want to say
Yes, you.
6:55. Mr. Walton,
Sure thing,
can you
Michael.
Cue that up. I'm going to
How far back?
The video.
Wait a page.
In
Anything for you, Michael?
and in that same exact statement.
Oh, wait. Here, Michael? Here. What am I playing back again? I was busy eating chocolate. Come on now. I need to stop the yawns. I've never got the yawns before. Oh no, the bag of candy. Oh, okay, fuck. It's chocolate, Easter chocolate, because it's Easter. Cadbury Dairy Milk. And I'm having some chocolate to give me a sugar hit. Oh my God, now I went back and we're going to be a whole thing. So wait. So there's sidebar. There's like this sized eggs. I don't really eat chocolate very often, but it's Easter, right? Or there's little Turkish delights, a little crunchy, like honeycomb. You have crunchies, don't you? Caramel. Just a little sugar hit. Oh, Cadbury. Got it. Yes, now I'll go forward again because fuck, I missed the memo. Bit of writing here.
A portion of that video for the jurors, publish it.
Okay. Which portion, so people know?
I'm going to start it at about, I want to say 6:55. Mr. Wall could cue that up.
She got them from Home Depot. I don't know. They're dodgy as fuck. The whole world is watching the curtains. What's going on there? Like, yes, better than glary light, but there's these things called like blockout blinds. Perfect for here. Perfect. Micah says no. She got it from her guest shower. But as we can pause for a minute here to see, Bev has had some light highlights in her regrowth. Trial Channel says Brooklyn, those are straight from TJ Maxx. It's a shower curtain. It's not a shower curtain. It's just you can get those. We have them. It's just looks shit. Dodge. Commonwealth, where like all the money from the Commonwealth, they couldn't get a whole new blind. All their money's going to paying Hank Brennan. Wild.
That up. Before you play it, can we have it on that?
Just gotten whole new blinds.
Playing to this screen.
I don't know. When Ms. Gilman did it, it was both.
No,
there we go.
They're not. I've got
before we
blockout
play it,
blinds. I haven't put them up.
Can I ask you a quick question about
Bev
this?
did not pick them.
Sure.
It appears that this is paused. Do you recognize this as being the same video that you were shown this morning by Mr. Brennan?
I do.
All right. Describe the scene.
So that is 34 Fairview Road. The lights in the background, I believe it is either right as we pulled up or right as we're pulling up.
Okay. Same dash cam video.
Yes, sir.
Can we scroll this to the 6:55 runtime spot, please?
Princey, we also call them roots here, but also in Australia, roots means to fuck someone, to get a root. So it's not something we often say around here because, and it's crooked, right? Right. It's crooked. Neurodivergents in the house who don't need to have a spirit level to get the curtain rod straight, to get anything straight. Clearly a neurotypical, put that damn thing up.
Please. Pause it. Okay. Do you see the individual on the left? Far left.
Yeah.
Princey says it's called a tension rod. Well, I'll tell you what that rod is giving me. Tension, because it's not horizontal route.
The jacket?
Correct.
Yes, sir.
Who's that?
I believe that's firefighter Flamani.
You previously indicated that when you heard Ms. Reed make this statement, the firefighter Flamati was on his knees providing CPR at the same time you were knelt down providing the airway.
This isn't when it was
That's
stated.
not my question.
They're crooked.
Is that what you said?
Right, Brooklyn?
Can you repeat the question, please?
Sure. You indicated earlier when you heard this statement by my client, you were very detailed.
Chat is
Firefighter Flamati was knelt down providing chest compressions at the same time you were knelt down providing airway support for Mr. O'Keefe, correct?
I had also said that at some point,
That's a
firefighter
yes or no
Flamati
question.
So I'm going to let the witness answer the question.
had transferred CPR to firefighter Kelly. Firefighter Kelly did take over compressions at one point.
Okay. That's not my question.
Okay.
My question is an easy one. Did you say that when Ms. Reed walked over to you and you had this dialogue with her, she made that statement that firefighter Flamati was on his knees providing chest compressions at the same time you were knelt down providing?
Steph, I know you so well that I'm not sure which kind of route you're talking about. And if so, girl, go you fucking good thing getting your roots done tonight. Happy for you. I'm happy.
Providing airway support.
Yes, sir.
Okay. Firefighter Flamati, your testimony appears to be standing up right there, correct?
Yes, sir.
Let's play the video forward for just a second. Stop it. What did you see firefighter Flamati do just now?
I believe he just knelt down.
Okay. So at this point, he's kneeling for the first time, correct?
Yes, sir.
And he's about to provide chest compressions as your memory serves, correct?
Yes, sir.
All right, let's go ahead and play it forward. Pause. Did you see my client in that photo? I mean, I'm sorry, in that clip?
No, sir.
You didn't see her?
Oh, no, I did see her. Yeah. I don't see her on right now.
Right. She just walked off frame, correct?
Yes, sir.
Let's go ahead and play it forward. Stop it. You see my client walk back into the frame?
Yes, sir.
At this point, you were watching firefighter Flamati. He appears to be now providing CPR, correct?
Yes, yes, sir.
Okay. And my client is nowhere near you, correct? At least for this.
Can't see shit.
Okay.
Correct.
And the clip that I just played before, the few seconds that I played before, nowhere near you, correct?
Correct.
Is that right?
Yes, sir.
Let's go ahead and play it forward.
Right, Shelley? Oh, Karen. Oh, Karen.
Pause it, please. What do you see happening on the screen from screen right to screen left at this juncture?
We're bringing in the stretcher.
Sidebar. This is the first time I've ever seen any of this on anything bigger screen than on my phone. This is quite enlightening. Still can't see shit, but there you go.
Okay, go ahead and play it. Pause it. Do you see where my client is right now?
Can you back it up 2 seconds? I'm sorry, I lost
With
view.
the court's permission, I need to ask the
Yes.
court's permission. Thank you. Okay, let's go ahead and play it. Pause. Did you see my client?
Yes, sir.
Where is she in the frame?
Behind that other individual.
Behind the SUV?
I believe she's in front of the SUV and behind the other individual.
Okay. I meant the SUV, that's the white SUV that's in
Yes, sir.
the far distance.
Yes.
That's the back of the SUV. She's behind, right?
Correct. Yes.
Okay. Not near you.
No.
Okay. Let's go ahead and play it.
Happy to be of service, Michael.
Go ahead and pause it. Do you see what firefighter Flamati is still doing throughout this entire clip?
Chest compressions?
Okay.
Brooklyn, my
play it.
question entirely. Who is in the hoodie? Is that Kerry Roberts? Or is that him in his puffer jacket? No, he would have said so.
Pause. What's happening now?
God
Where
only knows.
Mr. O'Keefe's on the scoop stretcher and he's being transferred to the ambulance stretcher.
So that's the entire time Mr. Flamati, firefighter Flamati, was giving chest
Yeah,
compressions.
Kerry. I think so
It's
too.
captured right here on this video, correct?
Yes, sir.
Jan!
And now Mr.
Jan!
O'Keefe is up on the stretcher,
Jan!
and you are no longer knelt down,
No, sir.
and firefighter Flamati is no longer knelt down,
No, sir.
and you're now following the stretcher with, it looks like, 2 or 3 other EMTs, correct?
I am not in that frame, sir.
Okay, so you've walked away.
Yes, sir.
All right.
Exactly, Michael. I think she went in the house.
Let's go ahead and play it forward. Pause it. See where my client is?
Yes, sir.
Go ahead and play it.
It's a bit too slim to be
Do
Kerry
you see
Roberts, with all due
Flamati
respect to Kerry
or
Roberts.
firefighter Kelly continuing to give chest compressions?
Yes, sir.
Which one is that? Do you know?
I believe it's firefighter Flamati.
Flamati?
Believe so.
Okay, so
Yeah,
he's
Jen.
still doing all the chest compressions from start to finish.
Yes, sir.
Okay.
She had MS.
And what's happening right now?
Now we are transferring to ambulance 1.
And where's my client?
Right front and center.
May I have just a moment, Your Honor?
Yes.
She snuck into the house, man. Well, she certainly couldn't see John in the snow, could she? Michael says it must be Jen. She's
If I may
telling
have
the
just
cop
a
what to
second.
do. Mr. Jackson looks lovely. The pocket square. Nick would love his pocket square. Where is Nick? Where is Nick? That's assault that Nick's not here.
With
Karen
regard,
denied
just a
her
couple of
home.
more questions with the court's permission. I'm going to change gears with regard to what you talked about on direct examination, the hypothermic conditions. You're not a medical doctor.
Who's this guy here looking up at AJ like bored but enthralled? Is he one of the law intern folk? Is he with Jaw Boy and the Bite Boy? Who's this guy? Can you see my cursor? Yes, it's very small. That's what she said. Nicholas Ticholas. How dare him? How dare him? How dare he? He is Paul's attorney? This guy? Paul O'Keefe? No. Law student. He looks sullen. Next to him's asleep. Next to him's not. Maybe Paul has got a student attorney. It's about all he deserves.
Correct?
No, sir.
You don't diagnose patients?
Sir.
You're not
Bad
diagnosing
boy.
that John O'Keefe suffered from hypothermia that night?
No, sir.
Thank you. That's all I have.
Can you follow up, Brian?
Please.
Career change. Uh-oh. Uh-oh.
Firefighter Nuttall. The video the defense just showed you.
Let's
did you
watch
notice
him
any
big mad
differences
spit up.
between that video and when I showed it to you, and that it doesn't have the time on it?
Yes, those were two different time frames
Wait.
on that video.
And when we spoke about when the defendant said to you, I
For starters, that's very ageist, and anybody can do law at any time. Big Mad Spanky. I'm going to speed him up to 1.5. Wouldn't that be funny? And then we can get through him, but also laugh. It's a bit like watching Matt McCabe at like hilarious 2x speed. Also, have any of you guys got 3x speed on your? I've got it on my phone in premium. 3x speed is amazing. Timestamping, come at me. Here we're going 1.75. Let's go.
hit him, I hit him. That wasn't shown to you in that video just now, was it?
Hi,
No,
Jim.
it's not. So if we go
Good to see you back.
will you be able to explain where you came from and firefighter Flamati came from and when you first went over to John O'Keefe?
Sure.
With the court's permission, Ms. Gilman, if you could start with that video. I think it is 6:11, please. Stop it there. Do you see that this exhibit has timestamp on the top?
No, I've still got
Yes, sir.
it.
Okay.
I got 3x
Please
on my
continue.
phone right now. I couldn't do it on this because we're live, but I do. It's bloody great. Yep. 3x speed. It's so good. It's very fast. That's what she said.
Could you stop, please? Do you see the red lights on the left?
Yes, sir.
Is that when you believe that you first arrived?
Yes, sir.
And that note says 6:11:05. Could you continue, please, Ms. Gilman?
I'm now. I feel like it's sacrilegious to speed Karen up to that speed. We have heard it many times before. I'm going to keep it, but it's feeling very, excuse me, lawyer. In terms of how fast he ramps his stuff up in his 1 and a bit hours.
Please watch to the left. Stop, please. Is that when you first arrived and walk over to help John O'Keefe?
Yes, sir. That's me.
Yes.
I'll note that the timestamp is 6:11:21.
I am. It's going to be
Continue,
called
please.
Only Shorties.
Stop, please. Did you see firefighter Flamati come
Yeah,
after you?
phone.
Yes, sir.
Was any of this shown to you during those questions?
No, sir.
You know.
Continue, please.
Who wants to help with my branding and my headshots? Never.
Stop, please. Do you see the defendant in that screen?
Yes, sir.
Do you see her moving from right to left towards you?
Sustained us to the form.
Okay. What direction do you see her running in that screen from right to left?
She's running towards where the three of us are grouped.
Okay. Please continue. Stop, please.
You're picking up what I'm putting down, Micah. Yikes. Yikes, Micah.
Is it at that time the
Thirst
defendant said to
trap.
you that she hit him?
Yes, sir.
And you remember that?
I do.
I'm done with the tape. Thank you very much. Now, you were asked questions about your memory.
Yes, sir.
Right. When you were asked the questions about Trooper Proctor, when you were saying that you didn't remember, were you referring to the conversation with Trooper Proctor or are you suggesting you didn't remember what happened that morning?
I don't remember the interview with Trooper Proctor. I remember it happened. I don't remember the substance of what was discussed entirely. I remember we discussed that morning, but
Do you know if that conversation was recorded or just a conversation between you and the trooper?
I do not know if it was recorded.
You asked questions. I want to ask you about questions on Mr. O'Keefe, and you mentioned that there was some type of blood clotting on the back of his head?
Yes, sir.
You noticed there were abrasions on his right arm?
Yes, sir.
You noticed there was a hematoma on the right side of his head?
Yes, sir.
Did you see any bruising on his right knee?
Wait,
don't recall.
Hematoma. Got to slow that down. Hilarious.
You know if that conversation was recorded or just a conversation between you and the trooper?
I do not know if it was recorded.
You asked questions. I want to ask you about questions on Mr. O'Keefe, and you mentioned that there was some type of blood clotting on the back of his head?
Yes, sir.
Okay. You noticed there were abrasions on his right arm?
Yes, sir.
You noticed there was a hematoma on the right side of his head?
Yes, sir.
Did you see any bruising on his right knee?
Don't recall, sir.
Did it stand out to you that all of his injuries, all of them that you saw, other than the cut on the back of the head, that they were all on his right side?
Yes, sir.
Did you notice any hematomas on his left side?
I did not.
Did you notice any scratch?
I mean, for starters, what's a hematoma? Supposedly nefarious. EDB's all over it, but same. Hematoma.
Scratches or abrasions on his left side?
I did not.
Did you notice any marks that would be consistent with an altercation on the left side of his body?
I did not.
You were asked about the cause, and you said that you don't know the cause. You weren't there, were you?
No, sir.
You asked if it was consistent with being punched, and you said it could be.
Yes, sir.
Could it be consistent with being clipped by a car?
I don't think so.
Sustained is to the form.
You were asked questions about clothing.
Yes, sir.
And you had at one point said you thought that Mr. O'Keefe was wearing a winter jacket. Do you have any memory that when you first got there, or when you first got there, do you have any memory whether there were any towels wrapped around Mr. O'Keefe's head?
No, but at least with macrame chameleon, I don't put any wrong letters in there, like hematoma. Is it that bad? Hey.
I remember there was a white cloth of some sort on the scene.
Okay. And when you were asked about your memory regarding the clothing, was the clothing of what was utmost importance to you at that time?
No, sir.
And why is that?
I was, again, focused on Mr. O'Keefe's airway and ventilation.
Okay. And when you were asked about the clothing, do you remember if you added anything else about your certainty or uncertainty about clothing when you previously gave a statement or testimony?
I believe when I testified last year, I had no part in removing any articles of clothing or anything like that. That was not my job in the back of the truck.
Do you remember any recognition of the fact whether you were certain or not about clothing?
Repeat the question, sir. Sorry.
Is there anything that refresh your memory about what you had said about clothing?
Ask a different question first.
You had mentioned that you had some difficulty about clothing. Do you remember what you had previously said?
I remember there was some difficulty of getting the individual's fingers through clothing just because they were so cold. They were difficult to manipulate. Just they really was not conducive to getting clothing off easily.
You met with me 3 times?
Yes, sir.
I had not met you before any of your prior testimonies, had I?
No, sir.
Do you remember meeting with me and discussing this case with me?
I do.
Do you remember me asking you to tell me what you remember?
I do.
Do you remember what I told you about
You
testimony?
can't. Sorry, not sorry. Brennan.
Agree with that?
Yes, sir.
Sir?
No, but colors, he's saying hematoma, not hematoma. So yes, it is, but it's not. He's saying it wrong, man.
After the defendant came over to you and spoke and then left, do you remember hearing her make further statements?
Yes, sir.
And do you remember?
Again, not directed.
So now, after Mr. Brennan asks you a few questions, now you remember her saying, I hit him a bunch more times. Correct?
Wild.
I remember hearing it in the background several other times.
Really?
Sir?
Really?
You never mentioned that on direct examination, did you?
I don't remember being asked about it, sir. I remember saying what was asked to me.
You were asked the defendant, Ms. Reed, say anything about I hit. And your answer was, she said to me, in answer to my question, I hit him 3 times, and that's it.
To me.
You didn't clarify that, oh my
Brennan's
gosh, running around like a chicken with her head cut off, screaming I hit him to everybody else under the sun.
It was, again, it was behind me in the background as I was providing patient care. Again, that was not my focus.
Okay, so you didn't really hear her say anything in the background because you weren't focused on that, right?
I remember hearing generalized commotion in the background, but again, that was not our focus.
So generalized commotion is very different than hearing her say, I hit him to other people, correct? You'd agree with that?
Yes, sir.
So what you actually heard was the chaos and the commotion of a chaotic scene, correct? In the background.
In the background.
As you focused on your patient care, correct?
Yes, sir.
Okay, not specific words coming out of my client's mouth, correct?
To the question that I posed, do you know him?
You're right. We're off that question.
Okay.
That question, I got it.
Yes, sir.
Triple I hitters.
Correct.
But with regard to what Mr. Brennan just asked you, the generalized commotion, to use your phrase,
Mhm.
in the background, you didn't hear any specific words coming out of my client's mouth, did you?
I heard I hit him. But again, it was in the background and it was not my focus.
Well, why didn't you say that on direct? That's kind of an important point. That's why you're here.
Again, if it was neglected on my part, it was not intentional.
Not intentional to neglect that part for the jurors. On
How
direct
very
examination.
Sarah Boone of you.
Certainly not intentional to neglect that part of your testimony on cross-examination.
No, sir.
But you decided to bring it up on direct, I'm sorry, on re-cross-examination when Mr. Brennan is asking you questions again, correct?
It was asked of me. Yes,
And it was after, of course, that your new statement that you've never testified to before, ever, is this generalized commotion included a bunch of I hit 'ems in the background, correct?
sir.
And that comes after you saw the video that clearly shows that when you describe having heard this statement, my client was nowhere around you, correct?
That segment of the video that you showed me,
Yes.
that was not the time frame in which she said that to me.
Well, that was the time frame when Flamati was giving CPR, correct?
He was doing CPR down prior to that as well.
Really?
Yes, sir.
Well, you just testified that you saw him
Really?
standing up in a big yellow jacket and then kneel down and start giving CPR. We just watched that video.
But again, the clip of the video that you showed me,
Right.
that was not the segment in which she said that to me.
Well, that's what you're saying now, but what I'm asking is, you described a very distinctive scene, a very, very specific scene.
Yes, sir. I remember it vividly.
She said, the I hit him phrase, when Flamati was down giving CPR, and you were kneeling down giving airway support, and he was doing rhythmic CPR chest compression.
Yes, sir. That's what happened.
And then I showed you that very scene, didn't I?
Yes, you showed me that clip prior to that.
I showed you the very scene that you described.
So it takes, excuse me, wow. It takes AJ quite some time to actually land this plane, but he does get there in the end. Not before Bev tries to hog tie him, hamstring him.
Described where Flamati gets down and starts chest compressions and never stops until the gurney is taken off the frame of the camera to the end. Isn't that what I showed you?
That is
Sure. I don't know if I can do it again. I showed you the scene where firefighter Flamati gets down on his knees, begins chest compressions, and never stops until that gurney is taken off camera, off frame, into the ambulance. That's the clip I showed you, correct?
that is the clip you showed me.
Never, ever, ever, Brooklyn.
And that's exactly when you describe your vivid memory.
You'll never
Three and a
win.
half years ago, that's exactly the scene that you described when my client supposedly said, I hit him to you, correct?
Again, the clip that you showed me, that was not when it was said. That segment that you showed, that was not when it was said. It was said prior to that, when the three of us were together.
So Flamati was not giving chest compressions then?
He was. The CPR was a continuous effort throughout the resuscitation.
But we saw him start it. Officer, firefighter Nuttall, we saw him start it. We saw him walk into the frame, kneel down, and begin the chest compressions, didn't we?
We did.
And at no point, at that time or after, did my client even approach you, did she, in that clip?
She did.
What?
Objection.
Just a question.
Wow! Did you see that? He looked at Hank Brennan to wait for the objection. We're going back. Wow. See, these are the things that you miss when you just listen.
Officer, firefighter Nuttall, we saw him start it. We saw him walk into the frame, kneel down, and begin the chest compressions, didn't we?
We did.
And at no point, at that time or after, did my client even approach you, did she, in that clip?
She did.
What?
Objection.
Just a question.
Sure.
Wow. Yikes.
Do you need to see the that clip again?
Yes, please.
We're not going to show the video again.
Which
We've
is
seen
wild. Which is wild. Why not, Bev? You fuck.
Videos. Which one is marked?
The
The
Commonwealth.
one with the timestamp.
Right.
Thank
It's
God.
the exact same video. One has
Thank
timestamp, one
God.
doesn't. I have two words. Just to be clear. Do it. Do it. I'd love that.
Nick, 1.5x speed. It'll be fine. You'll be fine.
You described a very detailed scene in which firefighter Flamati got down on the ground on his knees and began CPR.
Yes, sir.
We saw a clip that was It played
Same,
fully
Bluebird.
through.
I'm always listening.
Starts and stops, but it played fully through. Correct?
Yes, sir.
That was true and accurate video of what happened that day,
Yes, sir.
that morning. Correct?
Correct.
And from the time firefighter Flamati began his CPR, he never stopped, but all the way through until the burn was taken off the camera. Correct?
Correct.
You also described very clearly before you saw the video that the time when my client walked over and you had this dialogue and you heard this statement, it was during the time that firefighter Flamati was given the CPR. Correct? You described it.
Yes, sir.
Right, Micah?
But when we actually see firefighter Flamati giving the CPR,
Nick says, I've pulled over. Nick, you are a shorty of the highest esteem, sir. The highest esteem.
It's not a deal breaker, but I'd like to know. Thank you.
Wrong one.
I mean, good for them. I'm happy. But I just want to make sure that I am still held in the highest esteem of the system. It's
You
not
are.
a deal breaker, but I'd like to know. Thank you.
You are.
CPR, as per your description, at no time did my client walk over and have a conversation with you, did she? In that-
She did in the video.
In the portion that Mr. Brennan played you, was firefighter Flamati giving CPR at that point?
As I said previously,
Was
as well.
he or was he not? Yes or no?
Objection.
I'm going to let the witness answer the question.
Firefighters Kelly and Flamati were trading off CPR. Tony started doing CPR, and it was passed off at one point to Firefighter Kelly. Firefighter Kelly at that time was a BLS EMT. Firefighter Flamati was a paramedic. They're going to move towards Firefighter Kelly performing CPR because at that time his skill set was not as advanced as Firefighter Flamati's, as Tony's. But they did switch off. That is a routine cardiac arrest. We switch off compressions.
But the video that Mr. Brennan showed you was earlier in time, a few seconds or a minute or two earlier.
Yes, sir.
You'd agree with that, correct?
I would.
And firefighter Flamati had not begun CPR, had he?
I don't believe so.
That's right. He hadn't. But that's the time that my client walked over in your general area, correct?
Correct.
Before CPR was started, correct?
CPR was started immediately, sir.
Big
Can we
sigh.
wrap this up?
I don't know if
Sigh.
you can, Judge.
Give you a couple more minutes.
Correct?
I don't believe so.
That's right. He hadn't.
Oh, sorry.
But that's the time that my client walked over in your general area, correct?
Correct.
Before CPR was started, correct?
CPR was started immediately, sir.
Can we wrap this up?
I don't know if we can, Judge.
Give you a couple more minutes.
Do you understand the confusion?
Objection.
Sustained.
All right, a couple more questions on this.
Jackson's like, fuck this shit. Fuck this shit.
The video that Mr. Brennan showed you,
Yes, sir.
and you pointed to and said, oh, that's the time when she walked over and said the statement.
Yes, sir.
Remember that?
I do.
Firefighter Flamati was not even kneeling down giving CPR, was he at that point?
No,
The answer is yes or no?
No.
Okay, he was not.
Voice check.
Later, as the video continues to run, at some point, we see firefighter Flamati enter the screen, kneel down in that bright, reflective yellow jacket, and begin CPR, correct?
Yes, sir.
You had previously said that when you heard the statement and she walked over to you, it was when firefighter Flamati was giving CPR, correct?
Yes, sir.
And at no point, you'll agree with me, we just played the video, at no point after he started giving CPR did my client come anywhere near. Isn't that what the video showed?
That was the segment that you showed me.
You indicated on redirect, that Mr. O'Keefe did not have any injuries to the left side of his body.
Not that I recall.
Isn't it?
Nick. Excuse me, Nick. Thank you so much. Excuse me. Oh my goodness. Wait, let me clear my throat. Nick says AJ goes with a classic cutaway collar. His knot, KNOT, is a 4 on the hand, hence he always gets the dimple, and a perfect slanted presidential white pocket square. AJ, as ever, looks every inch the gentleman. Nick, typos and all, amazing.
And, I want to be honest with people. I don't want to be somebody I'm not. I don't live in a van. That's not me. I'm not that man. So I want to be real.
Isn't it true that in addition to the egg on the right side of his head, he also had a black eye on the left side?
I remember that the swelling had started to, it's referred to kind of as raccoon eyes. It's a bruising of both eyes.
Do you remember
battle signs.
Do you remember saying, in answer to the question, did it look like in addition to the egg on the right side of his head in the front, did he also have a black eye on the left side? Your answer is, if memory serves correct, yes.
Yes, sir.
So it's not true that he didn't have any injuries on the left side of his body or face, correct?
That swelling kind of migrates over time to both sides. That is a common occurrence for both eyes to be swollen.
Did he have an injury to the left side of his face?
He did not.
Did he have a black left eye?
Yes, he did.
Would you consider a black eye an injury?
Yes, sir.
Let me ask you the question again then. Did he have an injury to the left side of his face?
Yes, sir.
Thank you.
I knew he would. I knew he would. Nick is always fangirling on Adam. Nick would like to ride AJ's beard. Adam. AJ. Ew, Freudian slip.
I hate that man. I truly hate him.
Sage.
Shawty swing my way. Swing it over
Indicated that it was a chaotic scene outside on that front yard.
Yes, sir.
Fire engines, ambulances, patrol vehicles.
We know, Nick.
Engines running, diesel engines, flashing lights, people screaming, people talking over the howling wind, correct?
Yes, sir.
Did you ever see?
AJ is impeccable. Underbright over there, not so much. Micah says, Nicholas Ticklus, did you see Hank's suit? Isn't the collar gap, is that like a box gap? Because his jacket is poorly tailored and too tights. Sage. Bluebird says, I hate AJ's beard. It's been debated. I'll do a poll. I will do a poll. And I love bearded men. Men are not made for it. I love a bearded man. Men are not made for it. He looks like a psychopath to me during parts of this. And I love AJ so much that it upsets me dearly. Thoughts and prayers, Bluebird. Let me do a poll.
Don't recall.
You don't recall, or you didn't?
I have no idea who the homeowner is.
And you never saw anybody come out of front of the house?
No, sir.
That's all I have.
One issue. Briefly.
I want to see counsel at sidebar.
Sidebar. Oh my God. And I'm typing on my stupid up here. Okay. Vote away. Sidebar. How good are polls? I feel like a proper YouTuber. I'm getting there. We're getting there, chat. We're getting there with proper YouTubey shit. One day I'll grow up and be a real YouTuber. It's quite a full courtroom. Aiden in the back corner there with the intimidator. Nick says Brennan's jacket isn't tailored off the rack. Looks like he's wearing another person's clothes. Better than Lally, though, right? Ooh, 67%. I need it to be 69, but okay. Who else hasn't voted?
Sir, in Mr. Jackson's questions, he asked if you had ever said that you heard the defendant say, I hit him, separate from when she approached you. Do you remember previously testifying that you heard her saying, I hit him in the background separately from you?
Yes, sir.
You remember testifying that before under oath?
Yes, sir.
In court?
I do.
Anything, Mr. Jackson?
Yeah, just a second, Ronna.
I used to love beards. Now I don't even love men. Everything, Micah, everything. Like everything. Oh, ye of little faith. Don't roll your eyes, Burrows Nuttall. Do you think Erin told Paul to wear a fucking jacket, you slob, donuts man?
Yes.
Just a quick question, Firefighter Nuttall. When you were asked to recite your memory of that day on February 8th, 2022, just 10 days after this incident, did you ever say that you heard in the background, I hit him over and over again?
I don't recall.
All right.
When you testified at the grand jury, last question. When you testified at the grand jury, did you ever say that?
I don't recall.
But again, your memory is better now than it was then. Right?
Yes, sir.
All right. Firefighter Nuttall, you are all set.
Thank you, ma'am.
Okay, so now this is the chat. We needed you apparently, Bluebird. Who likes Brennan's haircut? I don't like anything about Brennan. He looks like a little penis head, which he is. Sweet. I clipped that. What objection bit for you? Thank you so much. You're a legend. Thank you. Excellent. I will turn that into a short. Miss Shorty. I'm a shorty who makes shorts. So that was it, but it wasn't, was it? Because Big Alessi energy is coming to the fucking house. Let's just go straight to it. I'd love to play a song, but I don't want to lose like 69% of you. So we're not, because Mr. Peabody, he sounds like a penis too. Ew, like a little. I'm not going to say anything because my mouth will betray you. Betray me and you. That's what she said. Wait. What am I doing? Wait. Oh fuck. What do we do here? First day on the job. Sorry. So motion to screen what the fuck granted sent me very kindly the Associated Press direct feed. However, fuck Australia. Blah, couldn't access it, but I found it myself. But thank you. Share this tab instead. This is what we're doing. I want to play OnlyFan, but y'all are fussy. Not you all, some of you. Yes, it's true. So this, Bev Big Mad, this is Boston 25. So there'll be some tickers on the screen. Not a fan, but okay.
And 680. First, Commonwealth's motion to enforce compliance with the court's April 16th, 2025 ARCA discovery order. Mr. Brennan, you said you could be brief on both of these. So
are we listening to
I'll hear
Brennan?
you.
Nah, I do have one. I don't know how to use it. Hi, Destiny.
I'll get right to the point.
Destined to be.
On the motion for compliance.
Lurking. I love that.
Defense did not comply with your order.
I mean, we can. I think people are going to go to bed.
Which relates directly to the credibility of potential ARCA witnesses. This is information.
I like to think I have a very classy Australian accent. I think I'm a little bit a cut above the rest.
Based on the history and representations made in this case that we're entitled to. I did note before these were produced that we have watched video footage from unaired
razor
video
blades
from the documentary. We clearly knew that
very
there were
quiet.
text messages and correspondence beyond what was represented to the court. It is not a surprise that I did receive these lists of text messages and calls after I made those comments. However, there is no text message content. There is 99 texts to Mr. Wolf, 6 texts to Mr. Lenchler. That does not reconcile with the past positions and representations of the defense to this court and to the Commonwealth. In addition, there are a number
I'll
of
speed him up because we hate Brennan.
phone calls.
It makes my brain hurt.
And those phone calls, again, I would suggest do not reconcile with the past representations. We have 52 minutes of phone calls on 5 calls with the ARCA mainline, 133 minutes, 20 calls with Dr. Wolf, 57 minutes, 23 calls with Dr. Rensler. I find it difficult to accept that these are all for scheduling purposes. We also had your honor's order, not just for the
Go and get your roots done, Princey.
complete or a fair production. But
Thank
it
you,
was
gorgeous.
an order by the court to provide all correspondence, text messages, emails, not just with Attorney Jackson, but with the entire team, including the defense.
Nick says it will be your Adelaide coming through. I am, for starters, I'm a professional. So I did do my degree in sound and radio presentation and production. Can't even say it. Something, bachelor degree. Hi, it's me. I'm trained. Lol. Royalty. Yes, me. Bit of Adelaide, bit of Melbourne. I grew up in Newcastle, though. I think it's a little bit to do with I have a melting pot of Australian accents, right? I bet you're exhausted. You've been going all day, haven't you? No sleep for anyone interested in true crime these days. No, I woke up at 11:15 p.m. though. No alarm. My brain went, "It's time to go. It's go time, bitches." And so I got like 3 hours sleep, and then I was moderating all day in Justice Serve TV. Not much moderating, just mostly chatting. And then got ready for this live stream, and then we've been live streaming for a few hours. So that I am tired, but and sidebar, you heard it here first. On Friday, Kenny Barden is not available to host Justice Serve TV for the voir dire of ARCA. So guess who's going to be co-hosting with Michael? Me. I'll wear my best blouse. I don't have any Coco Chanel or Dolce & Gabbana, but I will wear something really fancy because I'll be like a full professional. I'm going to have to get Esquire after Dr. Saint Miss Shorty Lady Esquire because I'm an attorney now. Just saying. You heard it first.
Defendant Karen Reed, and we've received nothing. This is important because if we look at the first half of ARCA's
Stan, good to see you.
Report, we cannot fairly and effectively cross-examine the witnesses until we have the information we're entitled, and that's why I've also asked and suggested that ARCA should be ordered and required to provide that evidence as well, so that we can see what is there. It is concerning that there are this many texts, this many phone calls, and the fact.
Oof, Newcastle, 2 hours north of Sydney. It's a city in Australia. It used to be the 6th biggest city in Australia, but it's now the 7th because blah blah blah. Australian geography, something population growth.
Totally. In contrast to what was represented in the past. So before there's even a thought of
sidebar,
I think we're entitled to the full discovery that we asked for, the full discovery that the court has ordered. I don't see anything to do with billing or anything else beyond these text message and phone call logs. I want whatever content is available. I think it's relevant material. It's pursuant to your order, and this is woefully incomplete.
Good point. Look at the gap between his jacket and shirt at the back. It should hug him. Nobody wants to hug him. Not even Brennan's jacket wants to hug him. Yay!
I dive into the second motion
yes.
More quickly. The second motion,
quicker.
Part of it is moot in some respects. I won't go through the tortured history of discovery. We've gone through it too many times. We don't have time for it. But inevitably, it is clear.
Guest co-host and
meta discovery obligations.
Guest
host now.
Coast and hosting.
New opinions, new testing, and they don't even have the parts of that testing yet. This is 2 weeks into trial after we picked a jury. This is at the time of the opening. It is ambush. It is unfair, and we have no ability at this point to reconcile a deal with new opinions.
I'll be doing these. No. Okay, wait, but pause.
Not have a report by May 1st.
Here's the thing, chat. You know, I love me some commentary and some interrupting. I'm going to have to mute myself and shut the fuck up. I'm going to have to be behaved. No swears. I can't say that's what she said. You all are going to have to keep me in line. I'm going to need a pep talk. Missy Mayhem, I promise I will behive. I promise. I'm already contemplating how sensible I'm going to have to be, like a full actual professional. I've done this for almost a year. My time has come to be a professional. We can do this, chat. Shorties, we can do this.
Our expert will be testifying somewhere at the beginning or middle of May. He is away. He is not available. And so anything we receive at the beginning of May or end of April, we'll have no opportunity to look at, vet, test, reconcile, or even engage in our own testing. This was my concern all the way back in November. I'm not Nostradamus, but this obviously was something.
You are a bit Nostradamus. Oh, fuck it. I don't know what keeps doing that. Stan, he does need a bow tie. That would just complete his look, right? I don't think he's... Nick, is he wearing a clip-on tie? I don't know. You like it, Speed? Same. You like to watch things fast, don't you, Brit? Same. They swear, yeah, but me, Missy. Hi, it's me. I promise I'll be zipping it. I'll pretend I'm on vocal rest.
And so at this point, it would be fundamentally unfair for the defense to get a benefit for failing to comply with discovery orders by waiting until February to seek permission with ARCA. They could have called any expert, asked for any expert they wanted. They didn't. They chose this method, and this is the consequence of it. And at some point, the defense has to bear the burden of their decisions. We will not have the ability to rush through.
No.
Have Dr. Tarantula come in days before his testimony, try to reconcile, be inadequate. I've had a brief correspondence with him. It's simply impossible. That's why we suggested, although we certainly didn't want to move the trial date, that was the only remedy if the court was going to allow any new opinions, evidence. I say to the court that they should not be allowed to offer absolutely anything new, not only because they missed the discovery deadline, but the reality is we're all trial lawyers. We've all tried a lot of cases. It would be a disadvantage, fundamentally unfair, and because of their own choosing.
Look at him. He's not. Wait, stop. Pause. Fuck, it keeps doing that. I'm sorry. I double click it too fast. He's nothing about him is moving. I'm going to skip back a little bit. Like, pay attention to his. Like at that speed, what is it on 1.75? Let me check. And he looks. This is the last time he looks down. It's on 1.75. Okay, ready. I'm sorry, it's so quiet. It's just this feed.
Come in, day before his testimony, try to reconcile, be inadequate. I've had a brief correspondence with him. It's simply impossible. That's why we suggested, although we certainly didn't want to move the trial date, that was the only remedy if the court was going to allow any new opinions, evidence.
In a minute.
I say to the court
skip back too far.
that they should not be allowed to offer absolutely anything new, not only because they missed the discovery deadline, but the reality is we're all trial lawyers. We've all tried a lot of cases. It would be a disadvantage, fundamentally unfair, and because of their own choosing. And so anything new we will not be able to reconcile. We would not be able to proceed with our expert in a fair manner. Thank you. Okay.
Stan says we don't want to be hostile. Really? Linda swears all the time. Okay. I'm still going to try to be behaving. Destined to be says he has so much fucking audacity to tell that bold-faced lie, right? What did I miss about a camera? What are we talking about? Jeez Louise. Yikes. The headshots. I knew it. Don't worry, Lisa. We can do your headshots Thursday, so you're prepared for your professional debut. I'm already a professional. Micah. You should see my camera reel, Micah. Oh, let's hear Alessi. We don't need fast pace for Alessi.
I'm going to ask you to be as brief as you can be, please.
Your Honor, I understand your request to be as brief as possible, but this is the first opportunity the defense has had to respond to almost every allegation that's been made. We haven't had an opportunity, so I certainly respect the court and what the court's request is, but it is going to take a bit of time to put facts out. And I want to separate two categories that the Commonwealth has conflated. The Commonwealth has conflated the issue of what text messages exist, which text messages don't exist, what's been turned over pursuant to orders.
He is big mad.
I would like that to be clear to the court factually, because the Commonwealth has misstated just now 3 times the facts.
So I asked this morning, there were 100 or so texts referenced in the exhibit, whatever was presented by you folks. I asked if Mr. Jackson, if he provided them, because my order was clear they would be provided, and he said no. And I asked you at sidebar whether they were deleted, and you said yes, in due course. I have no idea what that means, Mr. Alessi. Why don't you explain that?
Well, thank you for the opportunity to explain. Here's what it means. Like anybody's phone, those text messages are 2 years old. They don't exist.
So can you also tell me, aren't the ABA guidelines the council is supposed to keep everything in a case for 5 or 7 years?
I do not believe that is the ABA rule with regard to experts. I'm unaware of that.
In regard to your client, and this was in regard to your client's case, right?
I'm sorry, Your Honor, I didn't hear you.
Records kept regard to your client's case, which these are experts that were, there's 100 text messages leading up to trial when I was told that by you that there was a pause email, and then all of a sudden out of the blue, a bill appeared in July.
Hi, Big Rick.
This shows that's not true, Mr. Alessi.
Your Honor, that was a different question that Your Honor asked me back then. That was about emails. That was not about text messages.
Have emails been provided?
Yes, Your Honor.
Okay.
All emails have been provided. And that is why we are in compliance with all orders. And I will say also with regard to text messages, we have provided, pursuant to every order, every single text message that exists. Mr. Brennan just said, I believe there has to be more there. There's not more there, and I don't believe there can be an order of preclusion based upon the speculation of opposing counsel that there must be more. We affirmatively created a document, Your Honor, to be more transparent than the records, where we summarized all of the communications. Yes, we don't have the text of the text messages, but we were completely forthright and set forth every text that was made. Plus, we turned over from Ms. Little, the only other person on the defense team who communicated with ARCA, we turned over her texts and the text of her text messages. There is nothing else in existence to provide. And importantly, the defense was under no order to preserve the text of text messages. And we have never received, as part of discovery in this case from the Commonwealth, any communications between the Commonwealth and its several experts. That has not been what has occurred in this case. But of course, once Your Honor on Friday issued that order to provide everything, we provided everything we can that we had. The bottom line is, Your Honor, we've turned over absolutely everything we have. And in addition to that, we created a document so that it would be easier. We're the one who showed all of these text messages from Mr. Jackson historically. We created that document. There's no basis for a discovery violation. There's no basis for an order violation. We are in full compliance. So that's the prong one, Your Honor. Prong one is what Mr. Brennan has alleged is incorrect, because we turned over, and we did it recently and consistently. We've turned over all emails and Ms. Little's text we provided. There are no text messages in 2024, and there's no order that required those to be preserved. And there is no discovery violation, because we can't be in violation of not turning over something that doesn't
What's
exist.
this guy doing next to him? What are you looking at, mate?
All right, go to the second.
Thank you, Your Honor.
Motion.
The second part of the motion, Your Honor, is the most maddening for the defense. And this is the timeline that I can go through very, very quickly. And essentially, what the Commonwealth just argued is we will be so prejudiced that if we get the work that ARCA is underway, working on, that we will be prejudiced because we won't have enough time to address it. Your Honor, the facts show that the timeline for this has been caused by the Commonwealth, not the defense. And I can do it quickly. July 2024, the first trial concludes. November 2024, 4 months later, the Commonwealth decides to retain Aperture. Their decision to wait 4 months to retain an expert, we're the defense.
He loves it, this guy.
What the Commonwealth
He's
alleges.
Like, go, let's
January
go.
30th, 2025. 2 months after that, and 6 months after the first trial, we get an Aperture letter report that's barely discernible about what they've done. It's a 1 page and 1/4 of conclusions and opinions in outline form. Next, January 31, 2025, we get the initial Aperture 140 slide presentation. January 31st, February 5th, we get the case file. In February 19th, we finally get the raw images from Aperture in the scans. That's the first time we get raw images and scans. You can't
personally
have an expert
offended.
work on anything until you even get those raw images in scans. we move and we have a hearing on March 20, 2025 to preclude Dr. Welcher because the slides are so incoherent and the report is so insubstantial. We can't tell what it is their theory is. So then on March 24th, and at that hearing, the Commonwealth agrees to redact and revise that. So we're already into March 20th. The Commonwealth agrees to redact and revise. Your Honor put the defense on a short leash. We accepted it. And by March 24, we received the PowerPoint that was of the Aperture that was supposed to have two things happen. It was supposed to be redacted, and there were certain things that were supposed to be changed. What did we get on March 24th? It wasn't redacted, and there were 3 substantive changes to it. The Commonwealth has said twice, including today, there were no substantive changes. There's 3 of them, and to the extent Your Honor wants to hear, I can detail exactly what those changes were.
So why don't you highlight them very quickly, because
I will, Your Honor. I can do it quickly. Thank you for the opportunity. First one, slide 36, they changed the image of 34 Fairview. No small change. 102, they changed the conclusion regarding the time that the tail light was broken. No small change. 123, they changed the image of 34 Fairview. No small change. So we ended up getting those changes. And I want to be clear on the date. That's March 24th. We have a hearing on March 25th. We agreed to provide our response to these revised Aperture documents. Here is the key data point. On March 26th, the defense engages ARCA. Just 2 days after we get the revised PowerPoint with 3 substantive changes. And we started to respond and provide more information on March 27th. We responded to the Commonwealth's revised PowerPoint and the Welch report. And then the last 2 items, we renewed our request to preclude Dr. Welcher on Delbert Lanigan grounds. April 1st, and this is another key date, the court decision allowed Dr. Welcher to testify, but also allowed the defense to re-raise objections at trial when Dr. Welcher testified. What does that timeline show? That timeline shows that the Commonwealth took 6 months from the last trial. 6 months. And the defense took merely 2 days after they got the final report of Aperture to retain ARCA. Last point I want to make, Your Honor, is the argument of the Commonwealth that we strategically waited to retain ARCA. Nothing could be further from the truth. As the court knows, and has been the case with this unorthodox situation, ARCA was retained by the U.S. government. They worked pursuant to the U.S. government, and we had to get the permission of the U.S. government to retain ARCA. We moved expeditiously to do that. We got the permission from the government, and as soon as we got the permission from the government, and as soon as we got the final version of Aperture documents, including scans, we put ARCA on it. It has only been since March 24th, not even a month, have we had finally the information from Aperture, which is still inadequate. Our experts still say, with regard to what Aperture did, in some instances, they can't even figure it out because the information is so inadequate. Nonetheless, because of all the considerations we're aware of, we had ARCA proceed forthwith with post haste. And they are working post haste. But, Your Honor, We are the defense. That's where I started. We had to understand as best we could what Aperture did. In conclusion, 2 points. No violation whatsoever on text messages, emails, court orders. All complete, robust compliance. And with regard to the allegation that there was something said, that there's some surprise that there were so many text messages, on June 10th, 2024, and I've got the transcript on an, albeit on an electronic device, right in front of me. I just got to get the passcode. Mr. Jackson read a text message right live that he had with ARCA. He read it, and here's what it said. The court, okay. Mr. Lally.
He's reading a text.
So her issue is that she is available this week, but not next week. So I really need to get her in on Friday. Mr. Jackson.
Hold on. The court reporter can't hear you. She asked you to stop.
Oh, I'm sorry. My
Oh,
apologies.
I love him so much.
Am I going
He's so
too fast?
beautiful.
Thank you. All righty.
I love him. I'm going to cry.
My apologies. So, Mr. Lally, so her issue is that she is available this week, but not next week. So I really need to get her in on Friday. Mr. Jackson.
This guy here's smiling finally.
Dr. Wolf just texted me and said, I presumed you were in court. Give me a call when you're available. The court reports, I'm getting an interference. Mr. Jackson, I'm so sorry. The court reporter, that's okay. We have been completely transparent that there were text messages as opposed to emails, text messages about scheduling, about other administrative matters. Mr. Brennan is completely free on cross-examination of ARCA to address every one of his speculations, every one of his suspicions, every one of the ghosts that have been created on this topic.
Ghosts.
He can address them.
Ghosts.
If he thinks that we're wrong, we're misstating, he's got the opportunity to speak to ARCA and ask those questions. Your Honor, it is improvident to, based upon speculation, preclude the defense from putting in a defense.
I'm not making a conclusion today regarding precluding the defense.
Okay, all right.
All right, so I need
I
you to
love
wrap it up
him.
because there's something I want to say.
Certainly, I'm going to wrap it up in 10 seconds. There are no violations of any discovery order, no violations of this court's
He's
order.
so dreamy.
And with regard to the retaining of ARCA, because we're the defense, we acted expeditiously in response to the information we're getting.
Bluebird.
And this can be tested with ARCA, this statement I'm going to make. To this date, ARCA still has trouble understanding what it is that Aperture did and didn't do, which was the reason for my Dalbert Lanigan motion, but we proceeded nonetheless. Happy to entertain responses to any questions.
All right. No, thank you. All right. So as you all know, I previously wanted you to have a seat, Mr. Alessi.
Thank you, Your Honor.
I previously found and believe Mr. Alessi, when he was talking about the rules of professional conduct, did say, I agree, a violation of Rule 14, but not regarding
She's
rules
just going to
of
limit
conduct.
them.
At a prior hearing, I found a violation of the defense's reciprocal discovery obligations. It was clear to me, and I found that it was deliberate. This appears to me, contrary to what you've argued, Mr. Alessi, that this is another violation of my order and of the reciprocal discovery violations. We need to figure all of this out before you're allowed to call these witnesses. So I'm going to have a voir dire hearing this Friday. I know we planned on having you. I need the ARCA witnesses here Friday morning. So we need a voir dire, if you intend to call them, a voir dire on all of this. And I will be sending an order for production of records. I just need to amend it.
You know that. We love you.
For ARCA to bring all these items with them. So Friday will be for ARCA for a voir dire hearing in the morning. So we'll see you tomorrow for trial, Friday morning for this.
May I inquire briefly for scheduling purposes?
Yes.
In light of the hearing on Friday, will it still be half a day, or are we expected to call witnesses on Friday?
No,
Fuck
it will
up,
be,
Brank.
if we
Brank.
could do,
Fuck up, Brank. Hey, I forgot to do Kerry Roberts' testimony. So, bye, Bev. Bye, Hank. You little fucking weasel snake piece of shit. Sorry about that, chat. My girl, what the fuck, was like, Miss Shorty, did you mean to skip Kerry Roberts' testimony? I was like, nah, fuck, I forgot. Because I'm a professional. Wait. KKK. KKK.
Thank you. I can have this marked, Your Honor.
thank you.
Bye.
All right, Ms. Roberts, please. Okay, thank you.
Micah,
Would
am
like to
I
play this first and then call
still
Ms.
Oh, okay,
Roberts?
I'm sorry.
Thank you, Your Honor.
Brank?
Or did they come back to you with something? I mean, how much you remember?
I remember it, but I questioned, but I remember it because it's been relived so much. I mean, when I see the video of me driving from the waterfall, like what I just described, tapping the brakes when I crossed the intersection, Washington over Sherman Street, do I actually remember that I kind of slowly proceeded through that green light? No, I don't actually remember that. But I've seen the video so many times that you then question, did I remember on my own? Or was my memory jogged? But I also wondered, did I say, could I have hit him? Or was it told to me that I said I hit him? And I knew I never could have said that. So the closest I must have said was, did I hit him? I know I said I hit him, but did I really say it as many times as law enforcement's claiming I said it?
Pause. Colors says Kerry's demeanor is very different this time. I wonder if after a year, after a year with her new friends, she realized they aren't so nice. I think that she's actually trying to morph into Jennifer McCabe. She's Timu Jen McCabe, right?
Thank you. I now call Kerry Roberts.
Kerry fucking Roberts, Destined to Be says, why was she in 3 frames like that? Because it's the raw footage of the 3 camera angles from was that the Dateline one? Also, sidebar, I'm going to seek out the 5-part Body in the Snow series and watch that after this, I think, because I haven't watched it yet. But that's why. So they still clipped it though, right? Commonwealth motherfuckers. Michael says Fridays are half days because Bev has to go to the beach house and doesn't want to fight traffic.
All right, Mr. Brennan, whenever you're ready.
Thank you, Your
Good afternoon,
Honor.
Ms. Roberts.
Good afternoon,
So what
ma'am.
nuts do?
Good afternoon.
Could you please introduce yourself to this jury?
Hi, my name is Kerry Roberts.
Random. Hi. Like it's not a middle school fucking speech. It's not a speed date night. Wild.
Ms. Roberts, where do you live?
I live in Canton, Massachusetts.
How long have you lived in the area for?
Let's speed her up so we're not here forever.
I was raised
We're here forever. We live here now.
in the Boston area, North Shore, South Shore. I went to high school in Braintree and I moved to Canton about 12 years ago.
Do you live alone?
No,
Wild.
I live with my husband and 2 children.
Kurt.
How old are your children presently, this day?
My son is 13, my daughter's 15.
Do you work?
Yes, I do.
Without
Just-
identifying specifically where, can you share with us a little bit about
Like
what
this
you
is
do?
stupid.
I'm an executive assistant and I've been with my
2 children. Would you be willing to share with us
schools. And then I hung out with him more in high school.
friendly with John O'Keefe?
Oh wait, she's talking about her
Yes.
relationship.
Could you tell us about that?
When his sister Kristen passed away, and then her husband Steve passed away, they lived in my neighborhood. John took over for the children and moved into my neighborhood as well.
When John took in the children, did you offer any assistance or any help to him?
Yes, before John was even going to take over, he was going to potentially move in with his brother-in-law and the children to help out. And then when his brother-in-law passed away unexpectedly, John took over and I jumped in because I was a friend from high school that he knew and he had all kinds of people helping, but he sort of said, I'm going to lean on you for right now because I know you best. and I knew his parents and his siblings. And so I introduced him to my husband and we jumped in. It was
100% colors.
Preschool drop-offs, preschool pickups for my son and his son. And just from then until the time of his death, we were just friends.
Micah, suck his dick and swallow.
Very close friends, and we hung out all the time. The children hung out all the time.
Nah,
and
man.
He was the emergency contact list at my children's school to call if something had happened.
Were you close friends before he took over the care of the children?
No, I wasn't very close friends with them.
Were you close with his family before he took over care of the children?
No.
Did your friendship with him develop after he took care of the children?
Yes.
You mentioned you have a son?
Yes, I do.
And is your son the same age as John's nephew?
Yes.
Was there any common interests or activities that engaged your son with John's nephew?
Well, they went to in-home daycare together. They went to preschool together. They went to pre-K together. And they went to elementary school.
There
was a bachelor and he didn't have any children of his own. So when he took over for the children, he sort of, leaned on us to kind of guide him and, all the things to do if there's someone has a headache and,
They all had the hots for John, though, Simi. Just not enough to tell the truth about what happened to Officer John O'Keefe, right?
If there's an ear infection or, he had his mom and dad also helping as well, but I was right up the street. So if I would go to BJ's, I would call and say, can I grab you anything? If I would go to Walmart, any of the places I would go, I would call and say, do you need anything? Can I help you? Can I grab something for you? And he did the same. We just sort of all chipped in and helped.
As your friendship grew, could you tell us a little bit about your relationship with John?
3 hours.
John and I were very close. We spoke on the phone and hung out. He became very close with my husband as well because he was right down the street. But we just had a friendship, a very close friendship.
Tell us about the day-to-day activities and how you would try to assist John with the children.
Well, John moved across town. I don't remember when. I forget how many. Patrick, I think, was in 5th grade or 4th grade. And I would take him home with me on Wednesdays because John would be working. So it was more of a, if he was at my house and my daughter needed to ride the other side of town, he would take her with him. We were just very close friends. We did a lot together. We would do baseball tournaments together. We would have drinks together. We would, all the things friends do.
Destined to be, I had 9 hours sleep the night before and I feel like shit. That's how I'm doing it.
As you grew close,
and I'm going to go to bed very early, like it's almost 1:15 in the afternoon here on Wednesday, and I will be going to bed by probably 6, 5.
Closer to John and helped with the children, did you become closer with his family?
Yes.
And who specifically did you become closer with?
Mrs. O'Keefe and Mr. O'Keefe, his parents, and Paul, I would see from time to time, but not a lot. He doesn't live in Canton. But Mr. and Mrs. O'Keefe would be there all the time to help as well. And Mr. O'Keefe would take my son and Patrick, the nephew, out to Dunkin' Donuts all the time.
Can you tell us a little more about the collective effort of other people, including his family, helping John raise these children?
There was a lot of us that jumped in to help. It was not just me.
Bet it was. Good night, Shorty. See you the next episode and Friday. Yes, we're here every night this week until Saturday night's the last one. And then it's back to regular Camp Shorty Friday, Saturday nights. Thank you, Jim. You're in the draw for next weekend's merch.
I'll take any motherfucker's money if he giving it away. Shit.
And also Kerry Dirty Paws.
There was a lot of Kaylee's friends' parents that jumped in and helped out for Kaylee, his niece, and Patrick. There was a lot of us that helped out with Patrick. All of the community all came together to help him because there was this guy that just lost his sister and brother-in-law, and he stepped in to take care of these 2 kids, and he didn't really know what he was doing at first, but he got the hang of it pretty quickly.
You have a son that shared a lot of interests with his nephew.
Yes.
He also had a niece.
Yes.
Did you spend more time helping with his nephew or with his niece?
With his nephew.
Were there other people in the community you knew of who spent more time helping with his niece?
Yes.
And who was that?
Jen McCabe.
Did you know Jen
Jennifer McCabe?
I had met her once. John got a discount at Reebok, so he would take the kids. Well, he would take anyone with kids up with him to get shoes, like sneakers for back to school or whatever. So one day he did take Jen and I up to Reebok, but other than that,
oh my God, how many times have we heard this
I
Reebok
never
story?
talked to her on the phone. I never saw her out. Her children are older than mine, so we never really crossed paths.
As it relates to the night of January 29, 2022, how much earlier was it that John took you out with the children and Miss McCabe out with her children to get sneakers? How many years before that?
Oh, years, like 6 or 7 maybe.
Lady.
And from that time you met Jen McCabe in the years past, did you ever spend time with her again before January 29th, 2022?
No, I did not. I didn't know her.
Were you friends with her?
I was not.
Did you speak on the phone with her?
No, I did not.
So other than that one meeting, you were strangers?
Yep, that was the only time. I knew her. I knew of her. She has 4 girls.
She wanted to be
but I didn't know
Jen's
her.
friend.
At some point,
Timu Jen.
as you were part of John's life, did you learn that he was dating a person by the name of Karen Reed?
Yes, I did.
And do you see that person here in the courtroom today?
Yes, I do.
Could you point her out and describe an article of clothing that she's wearing?
100%.
She has a black suit jacket seated at the front
Look
table.
at it. She actually pointed her out. What a fucking
When did you
dog.
first become familiar or know about Miss Reed?
July, I think it was, of 2020. John, we were having people over. And so I invited him and he said, I'm going to bring Karen over. And I was like, I don't know who that is, but okay. He assumed I knew because he had been dating her for a little bit, but it was COVID. So we didn't see him very often during that time. So Karen came over that night.
This is early 2020?
I think it was summer. So I think it was around June or July.
Briefly, just tell us a little bit about where and the circumstances of meeting John and Karen for the first time.
They came over to my house and we hung out on the back porch, had some drinks. There was music. Kids were around. Just a nice, normal summer night. We had other people over as well.
Over the next coming months, did you become more familiar with the defendant?
Yes.
Did you see her more often?
Yes.
And could you generally describe to the jury how you learned more of her and saw her more often?
She would take care of the kids a lot. Mainly, well, not mainly Patrick, but not mainly Kaylee either. She helped out a lot with the kids. So if we were at baseball, she would come to all the baseball games, or she would drop off or pick up my son or Patrick if they were going to the golf course or the driving range.
Would you see her during events with your son and John's nephew?
Yes. We did baseball tournaments. And
so when you go to baseball tournaments, would that be away, an overnight type trip?
One of them was down the Cape.
Okay. How often would you spend time with John and the defendant?
Not that often together, but John would stop by himself. My husband would go out more with John, but I didn't spend much time with the two, not a lot of time outside the baseball field.
Did you become friends with the defendant?
We were friendly.
Did you ever spend time alone to go out?
Miss Shorty, you're muted. Miss Shorty, you're muted.
Colors says, I don't know, Lisa. I can't imagine they have been nice to her knowing them. They need to be nice to her because she is the supporter of their lives. She's an enabler. She's a flying monkey. Guarantee you, they've kept her close and she would be loving every minute of it.
Go out or socialize?
I did not.
Would you see her when you would pick up or drop off kids, or she would pick up or drop off kids?
Yes.
Did you ever speak to her on the phone?
Yes.
In relation to
what? Back.
Corresponding with the
Michael.
kids, pick up, drop off, mainly Ryan and Patrick, not about Kaylee.
Did you ever spend any important dates or times or holidays with John and Miss Reed?
No.
I want you to take us ahead to January 28th, 2022.
Okay.
On January 28th, 2022, do you remember that day?
Yes.
Generally, what do you remember about the day of January 28th, 2022?
Bingo, destined to be.
There was a blizzard coming, and it was my daughter's friend's birthday. So we were going to be going out celebrating that night, but we did it on the early side because there was a blizzard coming.
What was your plan for that evening?
We went bowling. We got dinner, then we went bowling, and then I came home because I wanted to be in before the snow started.
Had you communicated in any way with John that day?
Yes. He texted me. My son had an issue at school. Patrick had been dismissed, I think, for a doctor's appointment. So he did
Is that a
text me to
sneeze?
see how my son was doing.
I think someone just sneezed.
Did you simply text or did you get a chance to speak to him that day?
I believe we just texted.
Did you go out that night after bowling?
No, I did not.
Was your husband home?
Yes,
Did he go out that
He
night?
had to
he
be
did. He
home.
went out with John.
And do you know where he was planning on going?
They went to McCarthy's, a bar in Canton Center.
Had you been to McCarthy's before?
Yes.
Can you just briefly describe what McCarthy's is?
It's a restaurant bar. There's a large bar in the middle, the seating on the left and the right. It's right in the center of town.
Do you remember about what time your husband went out?
I do not remember exactly.
Another one. Bless
I don't
you.
know if I got home and then he went out, or if he was already gone when I got home. I don't remember, but it was he went out around the same time that I arrived home, which was on the earlier side.
How many times had you been to John's
CF
home, would you say, over
McCarthy's.
the past couple of years before this night?
Oh, Many.
Many times?
Many times.
Were you familiar with the house? Thank you. Ma'am, I'd ask you to take a look at that photo in front of you.
I wasn't paying attention to this.
I've shown you a second photo. Do you recognize what's in that photo?
Yes, that's John's driveway.
Is that a fair and accurate depiction of how John's driveway appears?
Yes, it is.
I've moved that into evidence.
Okay.
Exhibit 7 so marked.
May I publish?
Yes.
Good. Thank you. I'm showing you a third photo. Do you recognize what's in that photo?
Yes,
And could you share with the jury what's in that photo?
it's the
None of
side of
it's
John's
relevant.
house looking up from the driveway.
Is there anything you notice on the side of the house?
Oh, his profile.
The lights.
So bad.
Oh, the ring camera.
He's got big ears
Are you
too.
guessing or do you know that's a
No,
ring
I know there's one there
And how do you know that?
because I got a ring camera and I could look and see who was at my door. And then he said, "Why didn't you tell me about these things?" So he bought one.
I move to introduce this photo.
Okay.
No objection.
Thank you. What are we talking about here?
Exhibit 8.
May I publish, Your Honor?
Yes.
No, I'm calling it.
Ms. Roberts, with the laser pointer, could you just point at the picture and
We're
show
skipping
where
through to the
ring
pertinent
cam-
bits because
We could take that down.
More than 50,000. I don't even know. A lot. It was weekly.
That night,
I'm guessing, but somewhere around 10:30.
So I'm not going to let you guess. Do you know? Do you have?
I don't know. It was around 10 or 10:30. I can't be exact.
did you see him come home?
Yes,
What was the forecast for that night and the next morning?
there was a blizzard coming.
Oh, no
Was
shit.
that part of the decision making of going out or staying home?
Yes.
At that time, when your husband came home, did you look outside? Do you have any memory
think
of
it
what the
was
weather
text
looked like around
messages,
10,
Brooklyn.
10:30?
I remember the snow started to fall somewhere around 12 because I remember looking out the window and I could see it starting.
And that was the beginning of the snowfall?
I believe so.
What was the weather out that night?
The weather that night, I think was fine.
Cold.
It was cold, but it wasn't snowing yet.
I want to move forward ahead.
Yes,
At some point that night, did you go to
please.
sleep?
Yes, I did.
Oh,
Did you sleep through the night, Ms. Roberts?
Yes, I did.
At some point, did you wake up?
Yes, I did.
I want you to tell us what was the reason that you woke up.
I got a phone call at 5 o'clock in the morning from Karen Reed.
Were you expecting a call?
No, I was not.
Had you ever received a call at 5 in the morning from Ms. Reed before?
No.
Share with us what happened that morning. What did you hear?
just letting you know I made a short about this. Love you. Go and have a look at it. It's just there. The end.
Karen called and was the first thing she said was, Carrie, John's dead. And then she hung up.
3 times.
And then
it's the magic number.
When she
3.
said that, did you have a chance to have a conversation with her?
No, I did not.
Describe her demeanor when she said that.
She was yelling loud enough, my name, I think it was 3 times, it might have been 2. She was yelling loud enough that she woke my husband.
Your husband was sleeping next to you?
Yes, he was.
Was she loud?
Apparently
yelling,
all the
screaming?
husbands
She was,
woken up
yes,
by
she was very
Karen.
loud. She was screaming.
After she said, Carrie, John's dead, did you know what she meant?
No,
And did you say this
Didn't
was around
say that.
5:15?
this was at
I'm
5.
sorry, I don't think
called
she
me at
said
5
that.
on the dot.
After she hung up, what did you do?
I was half asleep still. I didn't know what was going on. So I started to get up and I think I tried to call her back. I know I tried to call her back, but I don't know exactly when because I was like, what? So my husband said, what was that? I said, I don't know. Something's going on. I don't know what's going on. That was Karen. And then I tried to call her back. I know I tried to call her back, but I don't know if she answered or if she called me back the next time I spoke to her.
After you, or she called you again, did you have another discussion or did you
Sorry.
hear her say something else the second time you spoke to her?
Yes, the second time she said, I think something happened to John. I think he got hit by a plow. He didn't come home last night. Haley was home. He would never leave her by herself, and I was not supposed to stay at the house last night. So I think something happened to him.
She's reciting her line.
Did she say anything about drinking?
Yes, she said, we drank so much, I don't remember anything from last night.
Objection
And I said,
leading.
okay, where are you now? She said, I'm driving. And I said, you need to go home. Where's Kaylee? And she said, at home. I said, you need to go home and be with Kaylee. She cannot handle this, thinking, her uncle's missing. I said, you're going to get a DUI. You need to go home.
Was there anything else in the conversation that she said to you at that time?
She said, I'm going to drive to your house. Would you drive my car? And I said, yes. So at that point, I started to get dressed. I turned on the automatic car starter so it would warm up. Told my husband, I don't know what's going on. John didn't come home. And so I think my husband tried to call him. And I tried to call him. And my husband said, "You're not going anywhere. It's a blizzard. He's probably on somebody's couch." And I was like, "I know, but she's really upset. I'm just going to go. She wants to come here. I'm going to drive her car." And then I went out to my car and sat and waited for her.
When you called John, did you get any response?
No, I did not.
As you were waiting for the defendant, did you make any other phone calls?
I did. When I was in the car, I thought to myself, well, she thinks he got hit by a plow. I'm going to call the police and see if there was an accident or maybe something happened. They brought him in. And I spoke to the officer who said, "No, nothing of that sort. I've been here all night." And then I called the Good Samaritan Hospital and Milton Hospital to see if they had anybody that was taken in an accident.
When you called the police to look for Mr. O'Keefe, did you call 911?
No, I called the non-emergency line.
Do you know if that call was recorded?
I believe so.
I'd like to introduce an exhibit.
Okay. Any objection?
No objection.
Okay.
When you called the police, what was your level of worry at that point?
I wasn't super worried. I mean, he didn't come home, but they were out drinking. So I assumed, like my husband said, he's probably on somebody's couch.
The second call you had with Miss Reed, can you describe her demeanor in that second call?
She was frantic. She was frantic. I mean, she couldn't find John, so she was very worried.
I'm going to bump it up a little more.
How soft or loud was that phone call?
It wasn't as loud as the first one, but it wasn't a regular conversation.
With the court's permission, I'd like to play the exhibit of the call.
Okay.
Frank said, I called because my friend's boyfriend did not come home last night. They were at waterfall. And now she is calling me hysterical because she doesn't know where he is. You didn't take anybody outside the name of John O'Keefe, did you?
John O'Keefe?
Yeah, he's the Boston cop, and it would be on film.
No.
And he probably got a ride and passed out at someone's house. I don't know, but.
Yeah, no, we didn't lock anybody up or anything like that. And where does he live?
He lives on Meadow, down the seven.
He lives on Meadow, off Pleasant. Okay, and where is the wife home? You said your girlfriend?
With his girlfriend, yeah, they were out having drinks, and then she left and expected him to come home at some point, and he never did.
Yeah.
And so I said to her, my husband had been out with them earlier in the night, but then he obviously came home, and he has custody with me to nephew because their parents passed away.
Okay.
And so she's home with the niece and nephew, and they're old enough to be home. And so she's nervous because she never even called me.
Yeah.
So she's like, I feel like something happened, and I said, okay. Well, so call the area hospital, and nobody got in. I personally think he probably picked him up and he passed out. I don't
Very
know.
hard to hear.
Yeah, where did he didn't drive last night?
No.
No. Okay. Again, it's more, it's be driven by you. She would have to, call in, come to the patient, and talk to us. But I mean, as of right now, it's more, he just didn't come home last night. Is this common sometimes happen with him?
No, that's why. That's because he didn't call with me. That's kind of why she's more freaking out. So I think I called the area hospital and then I called Kansas police just to make sure he didn't get picked up. Like I said, he's not complete doctor, but I know the people. If anybody could pick him up.
Yeah.
Please get it off.
Okay.
Again, we're having a blizzard party and stuff.
That just sounds like noise to me. I hope the audio is better in the courtroom. I'm sure it is because they're playing it out through the courtroom speakers and we get that kind of reverb. It's tough.
No. Unfortunately, I wasn't there. I was stuck here. But we didn't get any calls, anything like that. Nobody was arrested or anything like that. All right.
All right, well, thank you.
All right, no problem. Good luck.
Okay, thank you. Bye-bye.
Night, Micah. Yes,
Were you
get to
in
sleep.
your car
We're almost
when
done.
You called the police station and the hospitals looking for John?
Yes, it was.
Do you know at that point whether anybody else had called the police station?
No, I don't know.
Do you know at that point if anybody else had called any hospitals?
I don't know.
How long did you wait in your driveway?
I don't know. I'm sorry.
Okay.
Maybe like 7 minutes, 8 minutes.
What were the conditions like out that morning?
It was bad. It was in the middle of a blizzard.
When you
Yeah,
were
I'm
outside
pretty
in your
sure
car,
tomorrow,
in the driveway waiting, describe the lighting conditions for us.
It was still.
Pause. Brooklyn, yes, the Justice Serve TV is streaming. I think it's going to be not just, but Missy's going to put the court feed on. I don't know whether Linda and Michael will be there from the jump, but yes.
Dark out. It was 5 o'clock in the morning and it was snowing. So it was not great.
How was the visibility?
Not great. It was coming down really fast at that point.
You said that
So,
night when you went to
Margaret?
bed, the snow just started. Had snow accumulated at that point?
No, I don't think so. It was just starting to stick.
I'm sorry, that was the night before, but at this point when you were in the driveway, had the snow accumulated?
Oh, yes.
Do you know how many inches it was?
No, I don't.
Okay.
Enough. But the plows are out.
As you were waiting for the defendant, did she arrive at your house?
She did not.
What happened?
Again, I don't know if I called her or she called me, but eventually we connected on the phone and she said, I said, where are you? I'm waiting. And she said, I'm at Jen's house. And I said, Jen, who? And she said, McCabe, she's going to drive my car. And I said, okay, well, listen, they don't want cars on the road because it's so bad. I'm already in my car. I'll come there to Jen's house, stay there, and we'll follow each other and we'll go back and drop your car off. Did you look in the house for John? Could he just be in the house, passed out somewhere? And she said, no, she hadn't looked in the house. So I said, okay, now I'm going to come to Jen's. We're going to take the car home, drop it off. We'll check around the house. And then I don't know what the next step at this point was. I just wanted to check the house.
At the time you directed that you were going to meet at Jen McCabe's house and then drive to John's house, was there any suggestion by the defendant where she wanted to go?
I didn't know where Jen's house was. I knew the street. I had dropping Kaylee off or picked her up a few times. So I said, stay on the phone with me. So I don't know which house it is. And so when I got there, I pulled in the driveway and there was some conversation about.
Can I back you up and just ask you a little bit about the drive there? I don't mean to interrupt. When you left your house, you talked a little bit about the weather conditions. How long did it take you to get from your home to Jen McCabe's?
Oh, it's quick. Probably 4 minutes.
What was the driving like?
It was not good driving. That's why I didn't want 2 cars on the road.
Did you have any difficulty driving through that storm?
No, I mean, it was treacherous, but I was in 4-wheel drive. I have an SUV.
You mentioned you didn't know exactly where Jen McCabe lived. Had you been there to drop off John's niece before?
Yes, but I didn't know which house it was because when I picked her up before, she was either getting out of the car at the driveway or waiting at the end of the driveway. So I didn't know which house it was.
I think I interrupted you, but were you telling us that as you drove to Jen McCabe's house, you were on a Bluetooth on a conversation with her to help with directions?
Yes, Jen and Karen were in Karen's car, and I was on the phone essentially with both of them.
Do you know what type of vehicle the defendant was driving at that time?
A Lexus SUV.
As you drove over to Jen McCabe's home and
Motion to screen what the fuck granted says in Spanky's Open, he said that Kerry took control of the situation. I think she was a meddling bitch. Yes. I think she was like, this is my chance. This is my chance to be in charge of all the popular girls.
and you had some guidance finding it. Did you hear any conversations in that open line with, or even any statements by the defendant?
I remember when I pulled in behind her car in Jen's driveway. And at some point, Karen said, my taillight. And I looked and Jen she must have had the breakdown because you could see that there was missing taillight.
When you say missing taillight, was it merely cracked?
No, there was a piece missing.
Could you see that as you were parked right behind
the
defendant's SUV or Lexus?
She must have been applying the brakes because you could see it, but there was a lot of snow.
When you saw that the taillight had a missing piece, did you say anything?
No.
Did you think anything of it?
No.
How long were you parked behind the defendant's Lexus while it was parked in Ms. McCabe's driveway?
Not long. We were just, I pulled in and then we stopped. And then the next plan, at some point in that conversation as well, or maybe on the ride, because now we're heading to John's house to drop a car off. I pulled out of the driveway, Jen pulled out, and I followed behind all the way to John's house. And at some point, Karen said, I left him at Waterfall. And I heard Jen say, no, I saw you pull up in front of my sister's.
Was anything else said about the broken taillight?
No.
You followed Ms. McCabe?
Yes.
Same.
Where did you go?
We got like
to John's
10
house.
minutes left.
Did you arrive?
Yes.
I want to ask you some questions about when you
10
arrived
minutes
and what
left,
you did next.
tops.
Okay.
When you arrived at Mr. O'Keefe's home, you're in two separate cars. Who pulled into Mr. O'Keefe's driveway first?
Jen pulled Karen's car in first.
So Ms. McCabe was driving the Lexus.
Correct.
And the defendant was in the passenger seat?
Yes.
After you both pulled in, tell us what happens next.
We went, I wasn't sure if it was, at some point Karen showed us the taillight up close, but I didn't know if it was when we arrived or when we left. But we went into the house to look for John.
Girls trip, Britt.
When
Girls
the
trip.
Lexus was parked by Ms. McCabe in Mr. O'Keefe's driveway, was it facing the street or facing away?
Facing where the basketball hoop is, not facing the street.
I'd like to approach.
Okay.
I'm going to show you a photograph. Do you recognize what's in that photograph?
Yes, that's John's driveway. That's Karen's car on the left and John's car on the right.
Do you recognize both those cars?
Yes, I do.
Do you recognize that photo as a fair depiction of his driveway?
Yes.
Do you recognize it as a fair depiction of the motor vehicles?
Yes.
Now, when you went there that night and you pulled in behind Ms. McCabe,
It's been a fun
is
night,
there any differences
Bluebird.
between how that area looked when you pulled in as opposed to that photo?
Well, it was the early hours of the morning, so it was dark out and there was much more snow. and the snow
Right,
coming down.
colours.
Sorry. You want to?
Nope.
Other than the snow and the lighting, is there any other differences?
Nope.
I'd like to introduce this as an exhibit, please.
All right, there's no objection, Mr. Jackson?
No objection. With the court's permission, I'd like to publish.
Okay.
Bev's gonna go TikTok, motherfuckers. Let's fucking go. Game over, Moles.
And to help us understand, you see on the left is the house?
Yes.
There's a motor vehicle in the middle of the driveway, but it's the vehicle to the left?
Yes.
And whose vehicle is that?
That's Karen's.
Is that where it was parked that night when you went into the house?
Yes.
In the motor vehicle to the right? You recognize that?
That's John's car or SUV.
Thank you. You can take that down. I'm showing you a second photo.
Okay.
Do you recognize that photo?
Yes.
What is it?
It's the back of Karen's car.
Does it look like a fair and accurate depiction of her car as it appeared that morning in the early morning hours to you? Do
Yes.
you notice anything that's distinguished in that photo?
The piece that's missing in the taillight.
Which one?
The right passenger rear.
Do you know when? I'm sorry. Do you know when this photo was actually taken?
I do not.
Although you don't know when it was taken, is that a similar depiction to your memory of how it appeared that morning at 5?
Yes.
Or a little after 5?
Yes.
I move to introduce this exhibit.
Okay.
No objection. The court's permission, I'd like to publish.
Yes.
We can take that down, please. After you arrived at Mr. O'Keefe's house, what was the plan to go inside? What were you looking to do?
To go inside and look and see if he was passed out somewhere.
Wasn't all gone,
So we went in through the garage
hanky.
and I started looking. I think Jen ran upstairs to Kaylee's bedroom and I just started looking through the living room. Basement door was locked from the inside, so I knew he wasn't in the basement. And then I checked the other living room. He has a big house. Then I went to the top of the stairs to check his bedroom.
Big house.
As you looked around, what was your mood?
What was my mood?
Yes. Were you calm?
I mean, I was worried. So we were, at this point, Jen had already established that they went to her sister's.
Sustained.
Okay.
Jen had already
Hold on,
I'll
Mr.
ask the question better. My apologies. How many rooms did you look through in John's house?
1, 2, 5 or 6.
Did you see Miss McCabe looking in rooms as well, searching?
She went upstairs when I was looking downstairs.
At some point, as you were looking, did you see the defendant?
Yes.
Was she looking with you?
She was in John's room.
What was she doing?
She was just standing there when I came up to the top of the stairs.
Did she say anything?
No.
Did she do anything?
No.
Was she searching?
I don't know. She was in the room.
What happened next?
At some point, Jen earlier had said.
Well, let's not talk about what was said. Okay. Let's
Well,
just talk about
the plan
best
at
you
this
can,
point is
your
to go to
memory of what was
34
said.
Ms. Roberts, I know that I'm just going to ask you to wait for a question because we can only get one person at a time. So next question, Mr. Brennan.
Again, my apologies. And so as you're looking through the house, you don't find John. What happens next?
The plan was to go back to Jen's sister's house.
Who made that plan?
Karen wanted to go back there.
Well, tell us a little bit about that. How did that conversation come up and share with the jury what was said?
And the car ride to Meadows, Karen said, I left him at Waterfall. And Jen said, no, I saw you pull up in front of my sister's. So then Karen said, we need to go back to your sister's. And I said, no, we're going to go to Meadows and we're going to drop the car and we're going to look there. Then we'll go there if we don't find him.
When you were at the house, Meadows, John O'Keefe's house, and you didn't find him, was there any further conversation about what the next steps would be?
I said, let's go. He's not here. But I didn't know where Jen's sister lived. So we got into the car. Jen was in the passenger seat. I was driving my car. Karen was in the back seat.
Did you,
And Jen
begin,
was giving directions.
did you begin your way towards Meadows?
Yes.
And it was Miss McCabe who was giving directions?
Yes.
As you began driving to head towards Meadows, in addition to trying to drive, were you doing anything like looking or searching?
Well, yeah. We were looking on both sides of I was looking on both sides of the road in case he was walking home.
Did you see Miss McCabe searching?
Yes, she was looking out as well.
Describe a little detail about what you saw Miss McCabe doing.
She was looking out the window as we were driving. So was I, as I was driving.
And where was the defendant during that time?
She was in the back seat.
Was there any conversation, comments, statements?
Well, she would be in the back seat and then she would be in between Jen and I, in the back seat and then in between Jen and I. She was just very frantic.
Okay. Was she saying anything?
Specifically, and there was conversation on the way there.
Okay. Was she looking as well? Did you see her looking out the windows like you and Jen?
I don't know if she was because she was in the back seat.
As you drove to Meadows, what was the visibility? The same or better or worse?
No, it was poor.
Did you make your way towards Meadows?
I did.
As you finally got to Meadows, was the house on your left side, your side, or on the other side?
Are you talking about Fairview or Meadows?
I'm sorry, Fairview.
Okay. The Fairview house came up on the left-hand side.
Before you got to the house, is there a tree line between that house and the house before it?
Yes. There's a cluster of trees and bushes.
All right, take us back. I want to talk about that morning.
Oh my God.
As you're driving and approaching,
It's never
Fairview,
ending.
Tell us what you hear, what you see, what's
5
happening.
minutes.
Jen's giving directions, and it was really bad driving. I was right nothing because it was getting slippery.
Good to see
Karen
you.
wouldn't put on her seatbelt because she was in between us again the whole ride, and then sitting back. But she was worried because we weren't finding John.
Are you having words?
Yes.
Tell us.
I said to Jen, where are we heading? And she said, my sister lives on Fairview. I said, where is that?
Fairview.
She said, off of Chapman. I said, oh, okay, near Spring Lane. At some point, Bella's mom came up.
Tell me what that means.
I didn't know who it was, but it was it was one of Kaylee's friends, Bella's mom. Well, the directions, at some point, Karen was talking about Bella's mom to Jen, saying she never liked me. I didn't know who this woman was that they were talking about. But apparently, Bella's mom lived near where Jen's sister lived on Fairview.
Fairview.
Did you learn any more about the relevance of Bella's mom?
No. Oh, well, I think John had dated her.
I'm going to
ask the question, wait, you don't have to put your seatbelts on in the back seat in America? Yikes.
allow it.
So as
That's
you
not
approach
safe.
Fairview, tell us what happens.
As we approached Fairview at the house. You mean the house or the street?
Yes,
The house. Jen said, my sister's house is right up here. And I said, okay. And as we approached the house, Karen from the backseat is now screaming, there he is, let me the F out of this car. And she's kicking the back door to get out.
When you heard the defendant scream, there he is, and started kicking the car door, did you see anything?
I did not.
Did you see anybody?
I did not.
Did you look?
I looked.
Was there anything that impeded your ability to see far?
No, it was just snow.
How far could you see when she was yelling, there he is?
How far could I see?
Yes.
Interesting.
I mean, the visibility wasn't great.
Okay. Was she pointing or giving any direction?
No, she just said, there he is.
Okay. What happens next?
And then I unlocked the car. I looked over, I didn't see anything. And I unlocked it so she could get out of the back seat. I looked at Jen and I said, she's crazy. And then I turned around and watched, and she ran over to a bound of
Very
snow.
rehearsed,
When she
doesn't it,
started
trial
running,
channel?
before she got anywhere, did you see anything at that point?
I did not.
Were you looking?
I was looking. She said, there he is. So I'm looking around to see where he is.
And you could see nothing?
I did not.
Did you see her run around or directly?
She ran right over to the mound of snow.
Could you tell what the mound of snow was from the car?
Once she got to it, yes, it was. Once she got to it, you could tell it was a mound of snow that was the length of a body.
All right, I'm going to stop you there, Mr. Brennan. I need to see counsel at sidebar for just a minute, please. We got.
Okay, bye. Thanks, Kerry Roberts. Hey, chat, we made it. I think we're going to do it slightly differently somehow for the next couple of nights because we've all watched this already. I might try to leave it with me. My brain will work out something. I mean, something. Try to keep it under 3 hours for you all. Hey, thank you so much for being here. Oh, Heather, don't worry about the typos. The land of dumbasses, Missouri. I don't think I can say it. This woman pisses me off. They sound like they're in a play running lines. Yes. Very rehearsed. Very rehearsed. Why is my light different on one side than the other? That's frustrating. Better. Fuck. Hey, chat, I'm taking my earballs out. Excuse me. Thank you so much. What a fun time. I mean, not necessarily. I mean, yes, fun with you all. Which we are each other's emotional support chat. Tomorrow should be fire with Kerry Roberts being cross-examined by Mr. Pocket Square himself, Alan Jackson. Akasha says my stepdad was a biker, like Bike Club. Even he made us wear helmets and full jeans and shoes and long sleeves. Yeah, exactly. Rehearsed, memorized, scripted, all the things. All the things. Heather says, and even with their rehearsed, they still fuck it up, right? Ducking says, I believe all Commonwealth witnesses have been told to just keep talking, even and especially if defense calls an objection. Bluebird says, thank you for having this. To be honest, I need to listen to it more than once, but I understand. I'm actually going to go and rewind to all of it again because I have still pieces that are missing. I've already watched it twice today. So yes, three times a charm. Thank you so much, Miss Shorty. It was lovely to hang out with you guys. Yes. And Michael says, y'all, tomorrow's goal is to be more prefect. If you encounter a problem, just ask yourself, what would Jen or Kerry do? Peace to all. Peace. We're going out with the usual. Thank you so much, Motion to Scream, What the Fuck Granted, for pulling the timestamps for me. I'm going to have to be more efficient with our time. I will. Get some rest, everybody. Tomorrow's a big day. Thank you for hanging out. Thank you to my beautiful mods. Thank you, friends. Thank you, chat. Let me just change this background before we go out with crowd favorite Chat is Bay. This is my new favorite backdrop. Fuck yeah. Sleep well. Dream of big Yaneti energy. You always look so profesh. Thanks. I feel rough at the moment. Peace out. Free Karen Reed. Love you all. Mwah.
I love you all so very much. We had a blast, just chatting and stuff. Things may have gone bit off the rails. Professional when all else fails. 'Cause chat is bae, so much to say. Emotes and all the caps out. May have been cheese, bit faster please. The time has come, Camp Shorty out. We're skating through all the tough things, learning about this and that, defense motions, prosecution, and narcissistic twats. 'Cause chat is bae, so much to say. Emotes and all the all caps out. May have been cheese, bit faster please. The time has come, Camp Shorty out. Community, just you and me. Occasionally, Buster and Poppy. It's a whole thing, Miss Shorty swing. Together we make each other happy. 'Cause chat is bae.